Good morning, everybody. Ben and Woods, 97.3, The Fan. Let's get our heads right on a Tuesday. Feeling much better today than I did yesterday, I'll tell you that. Way less fired up, but still in a great mood. Ready to be here. Ready to chop it up with you guys, also all the Tier 1s out there. Thank you for your support. Thank you for listening. You guys rule. I'm Woodsy. That's Paul Reindl, the executive producer, YouTube director, the whole thing. Imaging director. Good morning, Paulie.
Good morning, and special happy opening day for the NBA to you, Woodsy.
Oh God, I've been waiting.
Just count, every morning you come into the studio, you're like, how many more days? 14 more days?
God, I can't wait to see what the Thunder do and the Warriors.
Also a basketball team.
Clay gonna do?
Yeah.
Is the Thunder a team still?
Yeah.
They are. Oh, that's Oklahoma City.
Very good.
Oh, the Heat. God, just all the great storylines of the NBA that it's riveting to me. I'll tell you guys about a funny text I got in a minute. Benjamin Higgins, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor, is here as well. Good morning, Benjamin.
Good morning. I'm more genuinely excited about the start of basketball season than Woods'
I am so excited.
false excitement over there, but I know why
I'm genuinely excited for the pre-halftime and post-game shows on TNT.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, well, those are always fun clips to play.
Ernie and the crew.
Absolutely. It's great.
I know why you're really in a good mood,
Why?
though. You must have gotten your special day yesterday.
The
one that you were asking for.
Oh, yeah.
Getting to just sit back and watch 6.5 hours of playoff baseball uninterrupted, unmolested at home. No one bothering you.
Yeah.
No one asking you to do any chores like
dishes.
Right?
Right.
Don't ask me to do nothing. Dishes, nothing.
I gave the assignment out on the air, hoping that my wife would hear it and just say, hey, listen, this is a Game 7 and a Game 6. Starts at 2 o'clock. It'd be great if I could just watch the games unfettered. And
Don't ask me to do nothing. Dishes,
Nothing. Especially dishes.
Especially dishes. She won't even let me touch the dishes in our house. She just does the dishes. I try to do them, and I always do them wrong.
You do them wrong.
Yeah, and she puts them... She goes in and rearranges in the thing.
Life hack. If you just do it slightly off, they won't ever let you do it again.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But it's weird because she understood the assignment, but she did it in reverse. So here's what I mean. The game started at 2.
Don't ask me to do nothing.
So the games started at 2. We got off the air at 10. I went to the gym, and I was home by 11:30. And I called her, and she's like, I'm going to get this and do this. I'm going to take the kids to the park. They walked in at 1:55. Like,
Done
they were gone. Yes, they were gone up until game time. And I was like, if we could have reversed this, I would have at least gotten the first game solo. Like, no, there's a guilt that happens when you're watching a game and your kids are there. It's kind of the middle of the day. It's 2 o'clock, and they're like, da-da. And you're like, I got to do this. It's work, but I also love you, and I want to spend time with you, but I really want to watch this. We don't have a whole hell of a lot else to talk about. It's almost like she did it on purpose. I'm going to keep the kids away from you until it's game time. So they didn't walk in the door 5 minutes before first pitch. And I'm like, really? Okay. All right. Noted. So I got a text the other day from a guy that I used to play adult ball with. His name's Matt Delson. Greatest dude. Catcher. I think he was actually, if I'm not mistaken, he was like a minor leaguer for the Cardinals. He's a good player. Really good player. Could hit, catch the whole bit. And I get a random text from him, and he says to me, it's just Friday night, and I'm lying in bed, and he says to me, hey, so I heard you picked the Liberty to beat us. And I go, what? And I wrote back, I go, who's the Liberty? WNBA? And he doesn't respond for like 20 minutes. And I'm like, what in the world is he talking about?
The New York Liberty were playing the
Liberty.
Las Vegas Aces in the WNBA Finals last week.
So I started racking my brain. I go to his Instagram. He's the CFO of the Las Vegas Aces.
Wow.
Which
So he works for Mark Davis, who owns the team.
Yes, he works for Mark Davis.
Yeah.
So I go to his Instagram. I'm like, what in the world is he talking about? And he goes, I go, oh, dude, yeah, you work for the Aces. I go, bro, I've never picked a WNBA game in my life. I don't even watch the NBA, so you were misinformed. And he laughed. He goes, yeah, maybe it was another radio host. One of my buddies said he thought it was you, but I don't think you would do me like that.
We played that Reindl Report. Remember the guy who got out of jail making the parlay bet?
Yeah,
and he picked the Liberty.
Parlay,
it was the
6 games.
It was the one game of the series the Liberty actually won.
Yeah.
And he bet on the Liberty as part of his parlay that he used to bail himself out of jail. Everyone came up and said to me, "Is that real?" I said, "I don't know. I don't think it could possibly be real because he also put the Jets in his parlay to beat the Eagles." And I'm going, there's no way you gamble your freedom on the New York Jets over the Philadelphia Eagles.
Zero.
There's just no way.
Zero. So I was like crying, laughing. And again, I was like, because people have, like, somebody has said to me before, like, you never talk WNBA. I go, I don't watch the NBA, much less the WNBA. I'm just not my thing. So, but again, just wanted to clarify that. It's weird what people think they hear, isn't it? That's like the thing. Oh, you said this. I'm like,
oh God, that happens all the time.
I would have. Can you guys picture me getting on here and be like, hey, guys, I'm telling you, the Liberty is just too much for the Aces. You guys would be like, are you okay?
So you know this guy from how far back?
Oh, dude, I've played against Matty for 10 years.
Because I would love to go to an Aces game, go to Vegas. It looks like it's a lot of fun. We can make a show trip out of it. What? You didn't tell me you knew the CFO of the Las Vegas Aces. They're the 2-time defending champs.
Did you hear him?
What?
Right when I tell a funny story.
I know a guy.
He thinks
You know a guy.
that we got to go.
You got a
get
connection.
hooked. It's funny you bring this up. Actually, it's a great segue. This is completely unplanned, but
It really is.
it's just the
the
perfect
greatest
segue.
segue.
What do you have in front of you over there?
I got some golf balls that Paulie gave me.
So me and Paul.
I'm going to Venmo him for them.
No, hold on.
Yeah.
No. Listen, let's talk about it. We're on a group thread, the three of us, the show. Ben hits me and Paulie up about 2:30, 3 o'clock yesterday.
Yeah, I was realizing on my way to work,
Yeah.
I need some more golf balls before I go on my trip this week, and I don't have a ton of time. And
You're leaving Thursday.
yeah, I'm leaving tomorrow. No, I'm leaving tomorrow right after the show.
Right after the
Yeah.
show. So over Christmas, our buddy that works for Callaway sent us all a Christmas present, and he's just the best. Jason Finley sends us some golf balls.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't played in a while. My hands were jacked.
Good morning, Jason.
We love you, Jason. My hands were jacked. Just couldn't play. But I have a trough full of Callaway golf balls, and that's all I play. He got me. Like, I'm a Callaway
me too now.
brand loyalist. So Ben hits me and Paulie up because you guys have any golf balls? And he goes, you did this though. This is the problem. He goes, I'll buy them from you.
I will.
But we got them for free, and
Well,
you know that we got them for free.
I know you did, but I feel like there's a value there, like, not full price, but
What kind of monsters
What?
would sell you something that they got for free, and
That
you
you
know
know.
we got for free?
I still feel like I'm saving.
It'd be like if I sold you Odyssey tickets to a Padres game.
I guess that's a point to that.
Hey, the company seats, the ones down the third baseline,
I had
that
two
only
grand- two
company
grand.
seats.
But
$2 grand.
from my perspective, if I don't pick some up before I go, I'm gonna have to go to like the pro shop when I get there, and they're gonna be like $50 to $60.
We're your friends.
I
We
know.
will give you the balls for the love of God.
But I was gonna send Paulie give him like $20 as a thank you
Why would
for
he got them for free.
I know he did, but there's still a lot of value there for me because I was running low, and I figured you guys haven't played as much as I have.
We have
so
not played
you
at
probably
all.
had a ton of them, and it seems stupid of me to go buy balls when I know
You're
you've got a
not
bunch of
wrong.
extra ones.
It's absolutely.
But I also felt bad, just asking you to give me your balls because you're going to use them at some point. I don't want you to have to buy them later. So I don't know.
You don't have. We are not going to charge you for something we get for free. For the love
I get
of
that.
God.
And I appreciate that attitude.
But hold on, this gets better.
I was gonna say, don't bury the lead.
This gets better, by the way. He goes, so they make a ball that has these 3 stripes on it. It's called the triple track, and you line it up when you putt. And I can't hit them anymore. It messes with my brain.
See, now I like having the triple track on there for when I'm putting to line up and use that as my straight
you
back
can say
and forth.
this.
Yeah.
I like plain white balls. That's what I like. So I said, hey, I'll take the plain white balls because that's my favorite. And so I said to Ben, I go, I've got balls, but they don't have the track on them. Ben writes back, well, maybe Paulie has some with the track on them.
Yours weren't good enough.
Gift horse in the mouth. Yeah, I get it. I felt that too.
Here's this horse.
I
Ben
felt
goes,
that too.
Look at those gums. Oh, no, I don't want it. Here's a free horse.
But I really need a horse, but not that one.
I was in tears when he did it. What is that in people?
For me, there's definitely always a desire to do what's going to be the most efficient going forward.
Absolutely.
And I am looking to avoid spending money that I don't have to spend, like overspending on some golf balls when I feel like I know both of these guys have a ton that they're not using.
Or Aces tickets.
Well, I think that would be good. I think that would be good for the show.
That's so good,
and
man.
good to go out and you don't ever watch any WNBA games. We probably should be watching some more of things like that, and I didn't realize you had a connection there. That's really cool. We might get some
didn't really
inside info on
really
the Aces and the WNBA. But yeah, mostly it's to me. I hate doing something that feels redundant or waste of time or waste of money. I just would rather be as efficient as possible in when I'm making my decisions of how to allot my time.
We are. Now, you're saying you're blaming it on time, but I think there's a money component.
No, that too.
As well.
Well, I mean, I could go to a local golf mart right now and pay $50.
What if I forgot? What if I forgot to bring them today or tomorrow?
Obviously, I could show up at the pro shop at the first course we're playing, and they'll be like double marked up at the pro shop, and I could pay $70 for them, and I'd have to do that because you need golf balls to play golf, and I'm running low. But that seemed like
would you do
that,
or would you ask Scott if he had any extras?
No, I'd have to eventually buy golf balls if I didn't have any available to me. But then I'd feel like that was a failure of planning on my part.
Everybody Venmo Ben right now.
Everyone Venmo him $1. People do this though. Damn well if Paulie had written back and said, or if I had been like, yeah, cool, $50. You would have been like, well, you got it for free.
I'd still rather pay you $50 though than go to the store and pay $50. I'd feel better about giving you the money for unused golf balls than sending them to the man out there.
I feel like my dad does this too. I feel like
I've got a little bit of that in me for sure.
I feel like there's there's
a frugalness about me as well.
There is, but I feel like you ask the question knowing damn well we're not going to charge you, nor should we. You did this is something similar.
I thought my intention was I thought there was some value there, not full price, but something in the the $20 range where because I think it's something. It was very nice of Paulie because eventually he'd probably use those golf balls. So
for sure,
I wanted to compensate him with something, but I also know he didn't get it. He didn't pay for them, so it's like he's maybe rather have $20 than a dozen golf balls. I'd be saving $30 on those same golf balls. It's a win for everybody.
That would make Paul a monster. Paul would be getting dragged in Foreplay instead of you.
But I feel like that's a win for everybody. Paulie gets something he'd rather have than some extra golf balls that he's not using. I get something for less than I would have to pay for it, and we're all happy.
But you do this bit. You've done this.
I mean, I will use those golf balls.
That's why I feel like there's a value.
The next time you get a shipment of golf balls,
give you an extra.
give me a box.
Yeah, actually, I can give you an extra dozen.
But you do this bit, this thing where it's like sell. Is it like sell? I'm trying to think of what it would be. It's not passive aggressive. I'm passive aggressive. You're not passive aggressive. Is it like self-soothing? Maybe. When we had our appearance that guy asked us to go down to on a Saturday, Ben calls me and says, hey, I want to go to the Cougs game instead. And I said, no problem. I'm going. It's not a paid gig, so don't worry about it. Go to the game.
But I felt guilty about leaving you guys and not going.
But then you said, well, people want to see you anyway. They don't care about seeing me. And I'm like, no, that's not right. That is not right.
That's rationalization. That's what that's called.
Rationalization.
That's rationalization.
You're a big Big rationalizer. Well, you got your balls.
I do.
I'm actually not going to do the rundown anymore. People don't care what I think the show should be like.
Can you imagine?
They just care about what you
Ben
guys
and I
think
would
the
just
direction of the show.
Be rudderless. We would just be rudderless in here.
That's a good bit.
It's a terrible bit. His bit's
I was
a terrible
also
bit.
complimenting you and your magnetic personality.
Don't do this. Do not do this.
That is always fun for tier ones
Yeah,
to interact
Adam,
with.
I mean, I know we have that important meeting. Nobody really cares what we
I'm
think.
I'm just a
Woods is the only
producer.
one that matters, whose voice matters. Like, maybe he should just handle the
I
meeting.
get that all the time. That is unfair. We are a team. We do not charge our friends for golf
All right,
balls.
Foreplay's normally fun. This one's been a little less fun for me. So
we talked about balls for 14
let's
minutes.
move on and get into the show today. We got our Daily Ditty coming up next.
That was legit.
It's the most foreplay we've ever had.
No kidding.
Songs about breakups, toxic relationships
Ooh, I
in
got a
honor
good
of
one.
the Padres and their AJ Bob breakup this week. And then we'll get into it. Yesterday's games that Woods may or may not have watched uninterrupted at home. Sounds like he was more interrupted than not.
Yeah.
Neither game was actually
Yeah.
down to the wire or that close.
100%.
But all of a sudden, after getting no Game 3s in the wild card round, no Game 5s in the division series, we get 2 Game 7s in the championship series. So there you go. Playoffs have taken quite the turn. We'll talk about it all. Coming up, glad to have you with us here on a rationalizing Tuesday morning.
Self-soothing.
On San Diego's #1 sports station. Let's check traffic with Kelly here on 97.3 The Fan.
Ben's theme, Toxic. Let it keep playing for a sec, Paul. I just want to hear the chorus. Toxic, right? Breakups. This is the best, though. Give me a little taste of the great Shirley Manson and Garbage. One of my favorite songs of all time. Imagine a woman writes this about you. Oh, special. Ooh. I've run out of patience.
I thought you were special.
Yeah. I've run out of patience. I couldn't care less. There's a man out there that had that song written, and he goes, oh, my ex-girlfriend Shirley Manson and her band Garbage have a new song out. Let's hear it. And sat there and went, oh.
There's a few songs out there that you wouldn't want to have written about you.
You are not
I mean,
kidding.
Taylor Swift is the master of it.
She's
but
got a bunch.
More in the older era. I always wondered,
Alanis.
who was it that Carly Simon wrote You're So Vain?
It was Warren Beatty.
That's the rumor.
That's the rumor.
That You're So Vain, you probably think this song is about you.
What a brilliant and cutting song. And I mean, you can see it with Warren Beatty. You're like, all right, makes sense. And Warren Beatty probably was like, yeah, you're right. Makes sense to me.
I mean, get it.
I mean, the breakup song is, there's nothing better than there's just I got to get this all out in my music, but that one cuts so deep. So deep. Cuts as much, probably as deep as watching former Padres skipper Bruce Bochy roll to another World Series, Ben.
It does. I have no ill will toward Boch at all. I am happy for Boch. He is a terrific guy. I loved covering him when he was here.
I bet.
I loved Chris Young, and he was one of my favorites. Smart guy. I always liked talking to him when we had the opportunity to do so as GM now of the Texas Rangers.
Do you know my brother faced him in high school?
Really?
Chris Young, and Chris Young K'd him up 4 times. It's just nasty. My brother didn't strike out against
His
anybody.
stuff always played. Smart guy, Ivy Leaguer.
6'11" or something, just slinging it.
I did see, the post yesterday. All the former Padres now with the Rangers, and all of our former Rangers running the Padres.
It's wild, man. It is wild to see the switch and how they've been massively successful, and we have not. But man, yeah, you gotta feel good for a guy that left the game, sat around and did what he did for 3 years, and then was like, all right, I'll come back. And then, year one, here they go, man, into the World Series. And I was texting with a group of friends last night from DFW. As you guys know, I grew up there. Never had any connection to the Rangers, though. No, a ton of games. Loved some of the players. Like, I grew up Pete O'Brien. I watched Pudge Rodriguez. I used to go watch Nolan Ryan pitch. I just didn't have the connection with it. But my friends are so geeked. I was on a group text with guys I don't really talk to that much anymore, and they were like in heaven last night. And I just went, man, I'm pulling for you guys because I know how bad you want it. My radio Jesus, Mike Reiner, been a Ranger fan for 60 years, and he was just elated. Was texting with them last night. So I think it's going to be tough for me to pull for anybody else moving forward now that they made it that far.
Well, something to be said for Boch is he's smart enough not to mess up a good thing.
Yeah.
And we talked about yesterday, Boch is the manager who's just going to be sitting in his office doing a crossword puzzle sometimes before the game. But there's a certain genius in not doing too much sometimes in baseball as well. And when, a guy like Adolis Garcia is as locked in as he is right now, you just pencil his name in the lineup and go.
Let it go.
You just let it go. The Texas Rangers didn't win because of Boch. They won because they've got the deepest lineup right now, and they have multiple guys who are hot. And yesterday, we talked about how we haven't even really seen Corey Seager step up. He had a huge game yesterday.
Man. Monster.
Lowe hit a home run. They have so many guys who can hurt you in that lineup. Now, they don't always do it. We saw what the bad Rangers looked like when they came to Petco Park right before the trade deadline. Padres may have looked better than the Rangers compared to any other team in baseball this year.
No kidding.
I look like, well, there's one team I know the Padres are better than this year. It's the Texas Rangers. They may not have been better than the Kansas City Royals or the Pittsburgh Pirates, but they were clearly better than the Texas Rangers this season. That's where baseball is always weird. But that lineup can be scary, and right now it is at its maximum spookiness in anticipation of Halloween. No one is going to want to face them in the World Series right now, whether it be the Diamondbacks or the Phillies coming up.
Let's get into some hardcore baseball talk next.
We are, we have to. There's some big managerial news, not just involving the San Diego Padres, but a big report that came out after that ALCS Game 7. So we'll get into the managerial news, talk more about the Padres rumors that we're hearing coming out of Petco Park lately as well. That is all coming up next. Padres fans, you do not want to go anywhere. Locked in here with Ben and Woods on a Tuesday morning on San Diego's #1 sports station. This hour brought to you by the Golf Mart, coincidentally enough, on 97.3 The Fan.
You have your own personal golf mart right over there. His name's Paul Reindl.
Heck, when you get beat 11-3, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can point to, in that ball game. And so we just got beat. Sometimes, there's no rhyme or reason. Sometimes you lose, and sometimes you get beat. There's a difference.
Man, I would say a tough way to go out. I think the biggest surprise of the night for me was Christian Javier's absolute ineffectiveness against the Texas Rangers. He had been so good. And I said yesterday, you are feeling so confident if you are a Houston Astros fan with him on the bump. He's been lights out. And then you're going against Max Scherzer, who has not been lights out at all. And I wouldn't say he was lights out last night, but, staked to a 3-0 lead certainly relieves some of that pressure, Ben, of Game 7. And I couldn't believe Javier. I really couldn't believe it. It was shocking. I was 0 for 2 yesterday. I know nothing about baseball. I'm happy to admit it.
It's hard to even evaluate. He had obviously a bad 4 batters or whatever he was allowed to face. He didn't get off to a good start. If it was a regular season game, he might have got locked in, ended up going 6 innings, 4 runs. It wouldn't have been a disaster. You have no idea. But in a playoff game, you can't really wait around to find out and see, well, maybe he'll get it going and we'll save our bullpen, and if we lose this one, oh well. In a Game 7, you can't do that. So Dusty had to pull the bullpen card early, and that really put him behind the 8 ball. He did not have enough pitchers to cover 8 2/3 innings in that game, and as you saw, it got out of hand, giving up 11 total runs, and it was pretty much over when you look back after the first inning. And of course, that was Dusty Baker speaking, and the surprising managerial news, I mean, not hugely surprising because of his age, but Dusty Baker reportedly telling people both inside and outside the Astros organization that 2023 was going to be his final season with the club, and he is seriously mulling retirement. No official announcements yesterday, but it sounds like that vacancy with the Houston Astros, which we were talking yesterday, seemed like it was Will Venable's. Or no, he's going to appear for Bochy. So maybe Joe Espada's for the, why he's been kind of waiting around and not getting other jobs, could be opening up sooner rather than later with the Houston Astros.
Yeah, really surprised. I was really surprised with the results. And all credit goes to the Texas Rangers for coming out last night and just laying the wood to those guys, man. It was really quite a scene. And to be a fan of a team like that in a Game 7 with not your best option on the bump, going against their best option on the bump, you couldn't have felt good all yesterday afternoon. And to get those 3 runs, those first licks, man, playoffs, home, away, sure, it helps when you're playing at home. Not if you're the Astros. Didn't win a game at home.
I think I turned the channel in like the 7th inning.
Yeah, 100%.
It was over, and I'm just like, this is boring.
I turned it back later.
Yeah, I watched the end. But I don't know, it took a 30-minute break there towards the last couple of innings. I'm like, this is a Game 7, and this is boring.
Yeah, when you hear the term Game 7, you're immediately like, yes.
I'm going to be
Game
locked
7.
in.
Bro, and then it gets out of hand in the first inning, and you're like, it's just another blowout.
Highlights on the TV behind you. It's 4-2 in the third. It's close, but then they just busted it open, and you're like, well, this one's over.
Yeah, Dusty did not have his best game, I don't think, as a skipper. And this is what he's getting dragged for this morning. You've got Martin Maldonado, who is not a good hitter. I mean, he's just not a hitter. He's a catcher, and he works great with the pitching staff. But when you get down 3-0 in the first, you're done. You don't catch anymore. Yainer Diaz should be behind the dish. He can catch. It's not like he's a first baseman you're going to put gear on. He's a catcher. He's an up-and-coming catcher. Hey, man, you need runs. And he came up with runners on a couple of times, did not get the job done. And there's a guy that's got 20 home run power sitting on your bench, pinch hits late in the game, down 8 runs or something. He just kind of asleep at the wheel, left that kid France out there for way too long. Murdered out there, didn't have anybody ready. Just not a good Game 7. And people were saying, at least on Twitter, well, I mean, now you can see why Dusty Baker has never won a Game 7 in his entire career. Never won one. 0 for 7, I think.
Yeah, well, most managers are going to have trouble when their starter goes a third of an inning.
Yeah, no question.
I can't blame Dusty Baker for Christian Javier not getting out of the first inning in that situation.
But you're still in that game after the first inning. It's 3-0 after the first. You're still in it.
And as Paul said, it was 4-2.
4-2
after the third inning.
Yep.
But they were so in the the torture chamber when it came to what pitching they had remaining. Boch, despite the fact that he didn't have a great bullpen and really didn't have a great starter. I mean, Max Scherzer will go down as the starting pitcher in winning Game 7,
and
which
that's
is
about
great.
it, yeah.
But he went 2 2/3, 4 hits, 2 runs, 45 pitches, nothing special. Boch wasn't about to test fate and give the Astros more of an opportunity against Scherzer, so he went with Montgomery coming in, and that worked out. He 2 1/3 shutout innings when they needed it. That was when they broke the game open and turned it from any moment the Astros could come back and take the lead into a laugher, and we've got this one well under control. So credit to Boch for pulling the right strings, but he didn't. It could have gone the other way. Had the Texas Rangers bats not been as on fire as they had, they didn't quite have enough pitching either, but it's a lot easier when your offense is putting up double digits to get through 9 innings than it is when you're battling in a 2-1 game or something like that, and you're trying to figure out how much you can get out of Josh Sborz and, how far can I go with these guys? And then Chapman came in and got into a little bit of a sticky situation as well. It doesn't matter when you're up 7, though.
7, 8 runs,
It doesn't matter.
Does not matter.
If it was a 1-run game, it would have been torture for the Rangers and for Boch, but they didn't have to worry about it because the offense has been just so darn good.
Them overcoming what happened to them on Friday night and able to go out and win the next 2 it's staggering. It's staggering, and all credit goes to those guys. And having a guy like Adolis Garcia was right in the middle of that controversy on Friday night. Finishes, guys, the ALCS with 15 RBIs and 5 home runs.
Hit 9 RBI since he got hit in Game 6, I think.
I mean,
that's crazy.
Can you even imagine being on a heater like that? And they kept pitching to him. It's like, what are you doing? Just not a great game to watch. Certainly not a great game to bet on if you like the Astros. Me and Mattress Mac in the torture chamber this morning. Probably a different amount.
Well, Mattress Mac always hedges,
Sure he
so
does.
he probably had some sort of deal where if the Astros win the World Series, everyone gets their mattress for free.
Yeah.
So now he gets to keep all the mattress money to offset his gambling losses.
$75 million
whatever
whatever absurd amount.
Crazy.
Crazy. Lost every game at home. I mean, that can't happen. If you're an Astros fan, you're livid.
Twice. It's happened to them twice now.
The only team in history.
So, in any sport, obviously football just has the one game, but the NHL, NBA, and MLB with 7-game playoff series. Only twice in the history of postseason series has the road team won all 7 games, and both times the Astros were on the losing end, the 2019 World Series against the Washington Nationals and this American League Championship Series. And coincidentally, both times Max Scherzer was the starting pitcher against them in Game 7 for the Nationals in 2019 and for the Rangers yesterday. So, Minute Maid Park has been a house of horrors twice for the Astros during this quote-unquote dynasty. I mean, imagine if they had just won one more home game in those 2 series, they'd have another World Series championship, and they'd be going to another World Series this year.
Yeah, no question.
And, I mean, they've still been the most dominant team over the last 7 years, despite losing twice all 4 home games in a 7-game series. That's pretty remarkable.
Boy, the Dynasty police were out last night in full effect, and they all had L.A. on their hats. Everyone wanting to say the Astros aren't a dynasty. Dynasty, however you define it. What they've done is staggering. It really is, and credit to those guys for doing what they did. But man, you got beat. You had this thing right in your hands, man. You really, really did. Going home up 2 games, it was all like.
But I don't get the sense that they'll move on from Dusty, and if it's Joe Espada or even someone else, they'll probably be really good next year.
question.
And they're just going to keep this train going.
And maybe it's just my opinion, but make no mistake, 7 LCS appearances in a row and 2 titles. That's as much of a dynasty as anything.
In modern professional sports,
professional baseball, yeah.
That counts in my book.
It's dynastic.
The Giants got 3 rings in 5 years, but they didn't go to 5 straight LCSs.
Right. They back and forth, but I mean that's a dynasty too. I mean,
100%.
It's
a little bit different, but to say that the Astros aren't, I don't know that I agree with that.
So now you go to the Phillies game, and again, completely wrong. Happy to be wrong, but just couldn't believe what I saw yesterday. Merrill Kelly, just unhittable, just incredible for those guys yesterday.
Let's check traffic,
Okay.
and we'll talk about the Phillies and Diamondbacks on the other side. We'll get to the Padres, at least the rumors kind of taking some shape. No news officially from Bob Melvin. No news, but the rumors are taking more shape. We'll get to all of that after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Air Max, San Diego's highest-rated heating and air conditioning company. It continues to be a pretty quiet ride around the county. Just watch out for a stalled vehicle reported on the Garnett off-ramp, southbound 5. Looking for the best in HVAC? Choose Air Max, San Diego's highest-rated heating and air company with free diagnostics on all repairs and estimates. See why over 1,100 happy customers have given Air Max 5-star Yelp reviews. See Air Max today at airmax.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
So lo and behold, the Philadelphia Phillies unbeatable at home.
Right.
Citizens Bank Park advantage, the crazy Philly fans coming back. I mean, the Arizona Diamondbacks have no chance. Merrill Kelly, who lost game 2 of the series, has to come back out there to Citizens Bank Park again last night. It's going to be over. Not at all. The Arizona Diamondbacks jump on Aaron Nola for 3 runs in the top of the second inning. Back-to-back home runs by Tommy Pham and Lourdes Gurriel Jr.
I'm proud of myself.
Should be proud of yourself, Tommy. And then Merrill Kelly gives up 1 run in 5 innings, and the Diamondbacks
I love Tommy Pham.
go on
I'm proud
to
of
a
myself.
I'm proud of you too.
surprising 5-1 win to force a Game 7 tonight in Philadelphia for all the marbles. And I thought the most interesting part of that game was Torey Lovullo's decision to take Merrill Kelly out after the 5th inning. And they had the video on TBS after they came back from the inning, and they showed the interaction. And Merrill Kelly was
Heated.
Was mad. I mean, he was like, "Are you kidding me?" He got the handshake from which you know any pitcher knows what that means. When the manager shakes your hand, you're done. And he was like, "No." I mean, he was literally going to fight Torey Lovullo to go back into that game.
He was hot.
He was mad.
He went down the tunnel.
Yeah.
He grabbed his stuff and went down into the tunnel. Now, I will say this. You did see the old heads getting upset. What's Torey Lovullo's job there? To win that ball game. And if he's got it set up the way he likes it matchup-wise and he has trust in his guys, I have no problem with what he did. Okay? None whatsoever. His job is to win that game, not to make Merrill Kelly or the fans happy. He's got it set up the way he wants it, exactly the way he wants it. Merrill, you did your job. I understand that in 1979, he would have gone until his wing fell off. I understand that. We have to stop complaining about it because it's not going to change. There are numbers, there are trends, the game can spiral from you so quickly that if you have a plan and you don't deviate from it, you feel good about your move. He had just carved up. Again, I said this the other day to when Booney was in here. There is something to me of, as a manager, not wanting to press your luck at all. Like, you gave me exactly what I dreamed of. Why press my luck here when I've got rested bullets in the bullpen ready to go? I love the matchups I have here. And by the way, Torey Lovullo has nothing to apologize for. They won 5-1.
Well, yeah, clearly in hindsight, it was, if not the right decision, it certainly wasn't the wrong decision. Now, perhaps keeping Merrill Kelly in the game would have gone well also. I can see it both ways. The fact that he had just gotten through the bottom of the 5th, striking out Schwarber, got Turner to fly out, and then struck out Harper.
Don't pressure luck.
But you've got through the meat of the order, and you're going. It almost felt like, God, he is rolling. He struck out. What did he strike out? 7, 8?
Yeah, he
at that point.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. I would have been very tempted to let him face the bottom part of the order, at least in the 6th inning, and see if he could keep it rolling for one more inning with that kind of stuff that he had. Because if he comes out and the guy, I think he walked the first batter.
He walked the first guy, I think.
You could almost see like Torey Lovullo's like the criticism. Just you could see it in his eyes.
That's
like,
why that job sucks.
I am about to wear it forever. If this guy comes in and goes like walk homer after I took out Merrill Kelly, who was shoving, I am never going to hear the end of it if this doesn't work out. And fortunately for Lovullo, of course, they ended up getting out of that inning in the bottom of the 6th. And the bullpen did a great job. 4 shutout innings, got him to the finish line, got him to the Game 7. Yep. And ultimately, you can't say one word to Torey Lovullo about his managerial strategy because it worked precisely as he
worked.
intended it to work.
It worked to perfection. Yeah, Ben, you would have had. He would have come out and he would have had Bohm. He would have had Stott and Real Muto, and he brings in Thompson. He gave up 2 hits, went 1 1/3, but no runs. And then Saul Frank came in 2/3 of an inning. Kenkel came in for 1. Seawald comes in to shut it down. That's your plan. That's why you have that bullpen set up like that. You always, if you could squeeze another inning out of him, but why? Why, if he comes out, high stress pitches against the middle of the order, gets them, great. I'm not going to press my luck
It
here.
also shows you how different the postseason is to the regular season.
Absolutely, dude.
If this is the regular season and hey, we just played 8 games in a row, we got 4 more after this, we got tired bullpen, there's no way you take out Merrill. How many pitches had he thrown?
80-something,
Yeah,
83, 84.
it's like you've got to roll with him for another inning. You're trying to save those bullpen bullets for when you might need them even more. But in the postseason, when there's off days, you just had an off day the day before, get an off day the most in 2 days, you may have a whole season's worth of off days or an off season's worth if you don't win. There's no reason not to go with rested bullpen arms who are going to be throwing the gas coming in out of the bullpen in those situations. It's a totally different game.
I mean, again, we know, we have to remember, and it's hard to do as fans, they know their players more. And Booney said that the other day, right? Because this isn't the first time that's happened. He did the same thing to Brandon Pfaadt, right? He went with another, he pulled him, and he was cruising. And Booney said, here's what we don't know. He may see one pitch that he goes, nope, he's all, that's it. He got out of that inning, and I don't like the look in his eye. I don't like his body
He may have
language.
struck out a guy on what was
a terrible pitch.
Completely mislocated.
He did hang one.
Change up.
He hung one to Schwarber, and you could see Merrill Kelly go, whoo, like, damn, I got away with one there. Torrey, being the manager that he is and being with these guys every day, that's the thing is, like, we love to get on here and go, how could you do this, and why would you do that? So easy to do. We don't know what they know. Right? Sometimes you're going to make the wrong decision. And Thompson comes in and is a gas can. Torrey Lovullo is getting dragged today. He's getting dragged. But his job is to try his very best to win that ball game, and he did. 5-1 was really never in question for them. And I was as surprised as anybody in the world. The Snakes have been fighting so hard, and that's such an impressive win last night.
Speaking of Brandon Pfaadt, he will take the mound in a rematch of the Game 3 pitchers duel that he just had a little bit more than Ranger Suarez. They were both fantastic in that game, though. Remember, the bullpens each gave up a run in the 7th, and the Diamondbacks walked it off in the 9th inning in Game 3. That's your Game 7 matchup tonight, 5:07. The winner on to the World Series to face the Texas Rangers. I would say Friday Game 1. Yep. I would say the Diamondbacks, this is a win, though. Just if you had asked them, hey, we'll give you an opportunity. You get a Game 7. It's in Philly, but you get an opportunity in a Game 7. They would have signed up for that at the beginning of the series, right?
Yeah, of course.
Not the beginning, obviously, the beginning of the season, but at the beginning of the series, if you said, we'll give you 7, will you take it? No chance to win it before then. I think they take it. I think they know they're the underdogs. They take that one chance. Anyone can win game in Game 7.
Man,
today.
you are scuffling right now if you're a Phillies fan or a Phillies player. This is not what you expected. You expected to win that baseball game yesterday. You believed it.
You are so mad at Craig Kimbrell right now.
Oh, yeah. yeah. You are livid at Craig Kimbrell. Twice.
All right, we will talk about the Padres rumors, the managerial situation, and take on Woods coming up next year on 97.3 The Fan.
Little Creed resurgence there for the Texas Rangers. Started playing Creed about midway through the season when they hit a lull.
Boch has taken them higher this year than they had been before.
With arms wide open, he has welcomed that team into the World Series. And yeah, it's tough when you do bits and stuff, and sometimes they don't work out. They brought Creed to Arlington. They lost the 2 games there.
They were down to one last breath.
Oh, play that song. I like that song. And then they did remember the guy, we played it on the air, the RJ Choppy, the Dallas-Fort Worth radio host that did that horrific version of Neon Moon. And they went like 0-2.
Lost 3 straight.
Lost 3 straight.
Lost 3 straight after that came out.
Here it is. Game 3, Texas style. We're World Series bound in this baseball town.
They are.
Got Houston reeling. Coming to the globe with the Rangers wear blue.
It worked. So, my theory...
They lost every home game after they debuted that song.
They're going to the World Series.
They did go to the World Series.
He said we're World Series bound.
True.
Is there a human being alive with a bigger sigh of relief than that man this morning? He does mornings on the Fan in Dallas.
I mean, he does not want to go down in history with That's What's In guys, with the Dodgers rappers. I mean, he was next.
The question:
We'll spend October nights with winds inside when the stick goes boom.
It's unbelievable, man. So my theory is a shot. I guess
what's in.
That's what's in. It worked. So my question to you guys is: does he have to do a new one for the World Series? I think you have to, or do you just say, you know what? That was nerve-wracking.
I think this is debatable. I feel like it's possible the bad karma just wore off after 3 games, and you don't want to start the bad karma over again with a new song. Even though they made it to the World Series, you made it despite the song. You overcame the song in the end because it was already a week old by the time you got to the World Series. Perhaps if the Padres just had more time at the end to overcome That's What's In, they would have eventually gotten past the Phillies. They just couldn't. It was too close. It was too near to when the actual games were happening for them to overcome them.
I'm going to stand by. I'm going to stand by my adage, Ben, that don't do it. Next year, if and when the San Diego Padres get back to the playoffs, I caution, we won't be doing it. That's a promise. If anybody else on this station does it, they're going to get kneecapped.
Watch the Astro Dreams die. Section 133, and we'll be home soon.
Little too much echo
That
there
is
on
just
that as
horrific.
well.
And it worked. They overcame that curse. I don't think we could. So let's
I know we couldn't.
Let's make a pact next year, the year after, whenever it may be. Don't rap. Don't do videos.
That's what's in.
Don't do that. Please don't ever do that again.
So don't start thinking of things that rhyme with Mike Shildt when you're coming up with your Padres song.
Or Flaherty. That's tougher.
That's much tougher. The Padres are well built under Mike Shildt. They'll take him to the hilt or something.
It's not bad.
But Flaherty would
Hilt's
be
not a
really
word.
tough to.
Flaherty would be.
Hilt is a word, like
yeah.
the hilt.
The
Take it to the
Hilton.
hilt. No, Hilton.
Shilton at the Hilton.
It's looking more and more, based on the rumors that are coming out, that when Bob Melvin goes to the Giants, and that still seems like a when and not an if.
Yes.
That Mike Shildt has emerged as clearly the odds-on favorite, the leading candidate. Now, we've seen situations in the past where the ground falls out from beneath under that last step. Something comes out.
Can't agree on a contract or something?
There are certainly hurdles to overcome, but if everything plays out as it is starting to go down the path, it looks like we'll end up where Mike Shildt will be the manager of the Padres next season.
I think I feel more comfortable with that move than I would a Ryan Flaherty or a Joe Espada or a Don Mattingly or some of the other names that have been bandied about. I do feel more comfortable with Mike Shildt. And, I like the thing that I like, and I read yesterday, is that he was integral in helping Fernando Tatis Jr. get back.
Saw that too.
He has worked with the minor leaguers. He works very closely with AJ. Now, it's interesting because the dynamics of some of the relationships that AJ Preller has had over the years, which when I think about it, it's not that uncommon. You work closely with somebody for a while, and it doesn't go the way that you want it, and then you part ways. Doesn't mean you're always going to be buddies, right? At the end of the day. So that's not that uncommon. That being said, you have to, AJ will have to trust Mike Shildt to be the skipper of this team, or whoever he hires. If it's Shildt, let's just say for argument's sake, it's Mike Shildt.
I mean, everyone feels like he's the leader in the clubhouse at least.
Sure,
so.
But my thing is, if you couldn't or didn't get along with Bob Melvin, this is maybe a decent ramp-up period that you've had with Shildt. He's been here, 2 seasons?
Well, yeah, in
3.
In a lot of ways. And again, I don't know if he's going to be the guy, and I don't know if it'll work out. But in a lot of ways, Mike Shildt is more suited for this job than even Bob Melvin was when he took it.
He's got some ramp up time with AJ Preller.
Well, yeah, he's worked in the organization, as you said, worked with players like Tatis, worked with minor leaguers, worked with AJ. He is coming off 3 years as a manager of a consistent playoff contender. Bob's been to the playoffs, but again, he was coming from teams like the A's that did it on a shoestring budget. The Cardinals are really, obviously I'm not going to compare the Padres to the Cardinals in terms of their history and the mystique around them, but in terms of the win now mentality, the Cardinals were win now when Mike Shildt was managing them, and the Padres are win now in this situation. So he's coming from a more similar situation and experience than even Bob Melvin was when he came, and where Bob Melvin had no chance to really get to know his players because of the lockout. And then, everything that kind of went on to start his tenure, Mike Shildt has this lead up, this ramp up time where he's already familiar with the organization before he even takes over. I've already talked myself into I'll be disappointed now if Mike Shildt doesn't get the job.
I'm with you. I have
now.
too. Bryce Miller wrote yesterday, look, everybody knows in the UT, I love Bryce. Bryce said, everybody knows Preller, as always, is capable of uncorking curveballs. This hardly feels like the time, though, to be the thought contrarian or overreach. Hubris needs to hit the showers, dugout stability, and a dugout stabilizer after a parade of coaches and managers have come and gone should rank at the top of the priority list. Mike Shildt, the thing that really sold me was the Tatis stuff, helping him get back from his suspension, working closely with him. That's great. If he's got the trust of one of your superstars in Fernando Tatis Jr., he's got the trust of the other guys, I would imagine, because he's done it. He's done it at that level. He's done it successfully at that level. I'm on board. I've moved on. Yesterday was cathartic, and I was pissed. And we talked off the air, Ben. Somebody had said to you at Channel 10, I don't know, this whole Melvin and Preller thing just feels icky. And I thought about that, and I said back, I would feel ickier if Bob came back now, based on everything that we'd heard and read and saw. And I would feel ickier with those two guys trying to work it out. Doesn't mean that AJ Preller's off the hook here or Bob Melvin's off the hook here. I'll be rooting like hell against Bob Melvin when he manages the Giants, but at this point, I would feel ickier if they stayed.
I want to comment on that. We need a contestant for Take on Woods. We're like a minute away, so call in now. 833-288-0973. Didn't play yesterday since we got so deep involved in the Padres Bob Melvin news, but we'll play today. We want to take on Woods in our musical trivia game. 833-288-0973. Chance to qualify for Las Vegas coming up here in just 60 seconds, so call us now. Yeah, I was actually a couple of people who said that, but it was Kimberly Hunt last night. Said, so AJ went in front of everybody, said Bob Melvin's going to be the manager, that they're working it out, that the news of the rift is overblown, and now Bob's leaving? What's going on? And I said, you're not wrong, Kimberly. It feels a little icky. It feels like we were lied to as fans, and you don't like that. It also was probably the proper baseball strategy at the time for AJ. If he's going to say anything, it doesn't do you any good to go up and say we're still in a state of flux.
We're working it out.
Yeah, we don't know what's going
He left
on.
it out. Everybody agrees. He left it out.
He did.
They both did.
He did, and he said, I think, what he kind of had to say. It doesn't make me feel any better about it, and it certainly doesn't excuse the last 2 years of that relationship not working out. And that's on both of them. We talked about that yesterday. That is on both of them not being able to work it out. AJ clearly still has some communication issues, the management issues. I don't doubt AJ has the best interest in winning and wants the Padres to do great things, and he works really hard at it. I thought Bob wanted to win as well, but clearly they were not ever able to get on the same page in a way that benefited the culture of the San Diego Padres. And that is on both of them, and that is a real shame because the Padres had a chance to do something special this last year, and it felt like it was a completely wasted year.
Yeah, 100%. AJ said it in his presser. We wasted a year, and that's tough.
All right, let's get to it. It's time to play. Take on Wolves. All right, we got Guy calling in. Guy, welcome to our October game. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, guys. How are you?
We're good. All right, this is the monthly prize is a chance to qualify for a 2-night stay at the Westgate, Las Vegas. Tickets to Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons at the International Theater. Show a must-see for fans of classic rock and roll. You can get your tickets and VIP packages now at Ticketmaster.com. And, of course, the Westgate showing off their $70 million in room renovations, bringing back the legendary Vegas fun. Here are your musical categories today to choose from. Guy Woods has left the studio, so let's get into it. 5 song titles that feature the word into. Those are the breaks. Those are 5 song titles that include the word break. And we've got Dress to the Nines, 5 musical answers that include at least one number 9. So let's get into it. Those are the breaks, or Dress to the Nines. Guy, what would you like to play?
I'll try the breaks.
All right, those are the breaks. We got 5 songs with the word break in the title. You'll have 60 seconds. You can pass if you don't know an answer. We can come back to it at the end. First questions are 2-second song. Paulie will play a clip of a hit. You need to give me the title and the artist to score that point. We'll compare your score to Woods, and if you beat or tie him, we'll put you into the drawing for Las Vegas. Guy, you ready to play?
I'll do my best.
All right, here we go. 60 seconds on the clock in the category Those Are the Breaks. Your time begins when Paul plays our music. Remember, title and artist here on our 2-second song. Good luck, Guy. Let's take on Woods.
Heartbreaker, Pat Benatar.
Correct. Which debut single by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers begins with the lines, "If it's all right if you love me, it's all right if you don't."
Pass.
Originally released by the Marcy Brothers under the title Don't Tell My Heart, which country song became a crossover hit 1 year later when Billy Ray Cyrus recorded it?
Achy Breaky Heart.
Correct. The members of Queen all dress up in drag for the music video to which 1984 song about the women's lib movement?
Pass.
Matthew Wilder's biggest hit was which 1984 song in which he sings Nobody Gonna Slow Me Down? Oh no.
I don't know, man.
Which debut single by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers begins with the lines, "It's all right if you love me, it's all right if you don't"?
Drawing a blank.
All right, you got 2. Tough game today. You got Achy Breaky Heart, and you got Heartbreaker by Pat Benatar. That's Breakdown by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. I Want to Break Free is the Queen song, and Matthew Wilder's song is called Break My Stride. Tough one there. We'll see. 2 could be enough here, at least for a tie. Don't go anywhere.
Let's find out.
We're going to find out as Woods re-enters the studio. Blissfully unaware of our category today, the difficulty of our questions. All right, Guy's score is in. Woods, let's reset everything. 60 seconds back on the clock. Your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck. Let's take on Guy.
It's Night Ranger. Pass.
Which debut single by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers begins with the lines, "It's All Right If You Love Me"?
Breakdown.
Correct. Originally released by the Marcy Brothers under the title Don't Tell My Heart, which country song became a crossover hit 1 year later when Billy Ray Cyrus recorded it?
Achy Breaky Heart?
Correct. The members of Queen all dress up in drag for the music video to which 1984 song about the women's lib movement?
Pass.
Matthew Wilder's biggest hit was which 1984 song in which he sings, "Nobody Gonna Slow Me Down"? Oh, no.
Nobody Gonna Break My Stride?
Correct. Go back to our 2-second song.
It's Night Ranger. It's not Night Ranger. It's Pat Benatar. Your love is like a
No, you know the song. Yeah.
Better hurry.
Wow.
I was nodding just because you had already won 3-2,
Okay,
but that
good.
was Heartbreaker.
Heartbreaker.
Which, by Pat Benatar, which Guy did get that one, and he got Achy Breaky Heart. Neither of you got I Want to Break Free by Queen.
I want to break free.
That's it, yes. Those are the breaks was the category.
Okay,
Heartbreaker,
all right.
Breakdown, Achy Breaky Heart, I Want to Break Free, and Break My Stride. Good. That was the difference for you in the game there as well.
Guy usually plays better than that.
That was a tough category for sure. No doubt about it. All right, we will put a new category into the mix tomorrow and give someone else a chance to qualify for Las Vegas. Beautiful. All right, we got Don't Do This. We have like a whole weekend.
We have so
choose
many.
from.
So many Don't Do Thises.
I mean, we didn't even get to the Michigan State
What
scoreboard.
What did you do?
story
You broke
yet.
the cardinal rule. The cardinal way.
Congratulations, Michigan State. You've just landed yourself on the Mount Rushmore of Don't Do This.
You absolute buffoons.
Yeah, I think you know this story by now. We'll get to all of that coming up next with Ben and Woods after a check of traffic here at 97.3 The Fan.
Baseball fans, for behind-the-scenes coverage of the 2023 MLB postseason, check out Baseball Isn't Boring. Host Rob Bradford brings you the biggest news from around the league each day. Follow Baseball Isn't Boring on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. And we are back after taking yesterday off on Don't Do This. Woodsy, why don't you lead us off with the cardinal rule of Don't Do This?
Rule number 1, Hitler. Just don't even bring him up. If you don't bring up Hitler, you're in good shape. That's the cardinal rule of Don't Do This. If you invoke Hitler, and we've seen it over the years, many reasons. Oh, I like some of the stuff he's done. Oh, he's a good speaker. Like, are you out of your mind? Genocidal Hitler. You don't bring him up, and you especially in a pregame trivia contest on your massive scoreboard, do not put a giant image of Adolf Hitler on said board. But that's exactly what happened. Michigan State University has now apologized for the image of Adolf Hitler.
After first blaming a third-party vendor supplier, which was total BS from the start.
It was gobbledygook, Ben. But yes, a photo of Hitler and the name of his birthplace, Austria, were shown on video boards at Spartan Stadium as part of a pregame quiz. I'm just off the top of my head, other people who you could do where they were born. Bob Dylan, Joe Musgrove, anybody else.
Maybe pick someone famous who was born in Lansing, Michigan.
Correct.
It's
Sure.
Michigan State.
Sure, absolutely.
Magic Johnson. Where was he born?
Johnson. You could do. We could do the whole show of just going back and forth with names that are better than Hitler, right?
Really, you could go through every name in the history of names.
Yeah,
you'd probably.
He'd be last on the list.
Never get to Hitler until the last name on the list.
Yeah, Hitler. Where was he born? As a trivia question, smarten up, especially. I mean, look what's going on in the world right now. You're going to throw that guy up.
Read the effing room.
Yeah, read the room.
So they've started an investigation. They suspended.
Right, there's never a time.
I guess there was a student in charge of that, and there's an investigation.
They said ultimately it's my. This guy said ultimately it's my responsibility to make sure all those who interact with Spartan athletics feel safe, valued, and respected. He said I should have gone through the images. Yeah, quality control. Checking people's work is important when you're talking about things like this. So just keep Hitler off the video boards, keep him out of your speeches, things like that.
We've heard the radio bit before where a host, a broadcaster, is so confident something is going to happen that they will promise something outrageous if it does not. I mean, what comes to mind? Mudd saying he'd walk to Petco Park from Alpine if the Padres came back to beat the Nationals that day when they got the grand slam off Max Scherzer. I think that was
that the game?
That was that game, wasn't it? That they came back and won, and Mudd had to walk from Alpine to Petco Park to pay off that bet. Now, you can always renege and welch on your bet if you do turn out to be wrong. It's not a good look, and Chris Mad Dog Russo of satellite radio fame was so confident in the Philadelphia Phillies, he made a pretty bold prediction.
They win the next 2 games and win this series in 7 games. If they win, I will retire on the spot.
Well, that adds some stakes to the game tonight.
Yeah,
Game
it sure
7
does. He
after
won't.
the game.
He won't.
You think he won't actually follow through?
No.
Well, I mean, he's not just him. He could retire right now. He's got plenty of money.
Yeah.
But he's got a whole network that kind of relies on him. I mean, there's a channel called Mad Dog Radio now.
Yes.
Does everyone lose their job if he quits?
Here's the workaround. You say, I will retire from making baseball picks. I will never pick another game because I don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm never going to pick another game. There was a point last year, early in the season, and I called you to it, Ben. I said, do you think the Padres will make the playoffs? And you said, yes, absolutely. I said, would you stake your job on it? And you said, no. And I thought that was very wise.
Glad I said no.
I thought that was
Mad
very
Dog
wise.
does know a lot about baseball. He's a smart baseball host, one of the better national guys who actually follows the sport at least. That's not like Stephen A. Smith trying to
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
baseball or
Colin
something like
Cowherd,
that.
true, 100%.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
at least
he's if that's the bar, he's better than Stephen A. Smith and Colin A.
Aaron-
Colin A. Cowherd, by the way.
his-
Stephen A. Smith,
his
Colin A.
middle-
Cowherd,
his
Ben A.
middle name
Higgins,
could be A. I have
Stephen
no
A.
idea.
Woods,
No
yes.
idea what
Paul A.
Colin-
Reindl.
Cowherd's middle name is. But was it a stunner that the Diamondbacks won last night? I was pretty surprised myself.
I felt stunned. I did. I felt stunned.
And would it be a stunner even more so if they won again today? Yeah, but it's baseball.
It's
I mean,
baseball, man.
You could throw the Oakland A's. Sometimes they have college teams play pro teams in like spring training.
Yeah.
And the college team wins. It's baseball.
The ball bounces in weird ways, and
on a short series, a game or two, you can't really predict almost anything.
I'm a wreck about it, man. It's crazy. Game 7s are great. Hope it's a close game. Hope it's a better game than last night. This is for Do This.
DD Mega Doo-Doo.
Now, I know you'll call me selfish, but I think you'll really like this. My beloved head football coach from the University of Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman, was doing his press conference yesterday, and he got a chance to do something that coaches rarely get to do. He got to turn the tables on a member of the media. Ben, listen to this.
Two things, right? Second, third grade championship game, okay? 2 trips to the red zone, 0 points. One play was a reverse pass that was intercepted in the red zone. You were the offense coordinator there? On that, yes. Thoughts on the red zone play calling? What's your thoughts on those red zone play calling?
They were attacking the run so much with Nico and Nolan, I thought we could drop one over their head, but maybe the elements, the mud, the game, it wasn't great for them. So
it's good. That's good.
Basics probably is the way to go there.
Last question. There was a Nico Freeman in that same game that had a long run that was negated by only having one flag on. Whose responsibility is to make sure the young man has 2 flags on?
I think it would be the guy in the huddle, which could be me, but you might be able to blame Coach Stanley on the
sideline. You're passing blame.
So I understand one of the people covering Notre Dame is the coach of his son's flag football team.
So they lost in the championship.
So Marcus Freeman's at the podium doing his presser, and he goes,
real quick. What
I'm
happened
going to
yesterday?
interrogate you.
Why are you running a reverse in the red zone? And we lost that one. And then my son, Nico Freeman, had a long run, called back because he only had
one flag on.
I thought it was so funny and endearing. I love that man.
I like that.
Yeah, it's really good. Really, really good.
That's Don't and Do This for a Tuesday.
That's my football coach.
Was Don't Do This with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
Now, speaking of Notre Dame, of course, they beat USC.
They did.
Recently.
They did. Whipped them.
I got a text from Adam yesterday. I saw this a couple of places. The burn going around right now is that Lincoln Riley, through 22 games, has the same record that Clay Helton did through 22 games. So, woohoo! What a great upgrade. I don't know that that's the burn everyone thinks it is. They were both 17-5, wasn't it, through their first 22 games? It's not exactly horrifically bad.
You're thinking about in comparison to Brady Hoke. That's $11 million a season. $11 million a year for Lincoln Riley, Ben, and he's got the same record as Clay Helton.
Clay Helton wasn't bad, though, his first couple of seasons. It's after that things got a little more troublesome. We'll see what happens. But
all I know is I'm a huge Lincoln Riley fan. I hope he stays at USC forever. Forever.
All right, we'll come back. If you want to join us, we've been talking. Actually, I don't know if we're talking ourselves into Mike Shildt, since we think that that's the direction the Padres are going. But what do you feel about it? If he's the next manager of the Padres, are you on board with Mike Shildt?
I'm a Shilty.
We can hear from you
right now. I'm a Shilty.
833-288-0973. That didn't take long.
No, I'm a Shilty.
833-288-0973.
Yeah, I'm kind of a Shildt head sometimes.
We'll get to all of that coming up with Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Well, you said something that actually really resonated with me as a fan earlier, because I'm a realist.
Yeah, you are. You are a realist. You are the realist.
I am the realist. I certainly am. Yeah. You can only deal with the situation that's presented in front of you.
That's it.
And I like Bob Melvin. I really do.
Yeah.
I felt
Save that, Paulie.
I felt comfortable when I saw him there in the dugout. As a fan, gave me some confidence to see him sitting there in a way that, even though, I liked Jace Tingler too, but I never felt that, I'd see him sitting in the dugout and
he looked nervous. It made
me nervous. It just felt nervous. I didn't feel that way about Bob. I liked the feeling I got when I saw Bob Melvin sitting there in the dugout. But when you said earlier today, if the Padres went into 2024 and all we got was a couple of, we're excited about going forward from AJ and Bob, wouldn't we have all just really been looking for every sign, every crack, in the relationship,
anything that anything that went wrong? The thing that popped into my head selfishly, and not really selfishly, because our audience would be listening to it, sitting down with Bob Melvin at spring training, which would probably be the next time we got to actually see him face to face in Arizona. He grabs the mic, sits down. Actually, he wouldn't sit. He stood in our interviews, made you very uncomfortable. We're sitting, he's standing, rocking back and forth. And saying to Bob Melvin, so, how's the relationship go, right? The thought of it gave me heartburn. And I go, I don't want to do this for a whole 162 games. I slept on it, thought about it last night. I'll miss Bob Melvin. See you later, man. I don't, one guy survived, one guy didn't. And that's the way that I look at it. I also said yesterday, as a fan that's ready to move forward, they fed me. I've got to eat it. I have to eat it. Whoever the manager is, they got to get a fair shot, fair shake. I'm not going to compare you to Bob Melvin. Bob Melvin was only here 2 seasons, man. It's not like you're replacing some legacy hire. He was here 2 years, 1 NLCS appearance, 1 painfully disappointing, underachieving season. So, I just feel, Ben, that this year would have been baseball season so excruciating anyway. It's excruciating to cover, to be a fan of. That year with those two, are they not getting along? We've lost 3 in a row. They must not be getting along. It's so awful.
So again, as a realist, the alternative, if I really wanted to keep Bob Melvin, and I thought he was the path forward for the Padres, but it wasn't going to work out with AJ. So the only other option would be to hire a new general manager who's not AJ, but then you're basically forcing a manager on whatever general manager comes in there. So you're not really letting that new general manager do their job, his or her job either, if they come in, which isn't really a tenable situation. So the idea of just keeping Bob and then building the rest of your organization around Bob Melvin doesn't really make a lot of sense in the big scheme of things. That was not a realistic, even if you are in the I believe in Bob more than I believe in AJ camp, that was never really a realistic option for the Padres going forward.
It was never going to happen.
And again, doesn't absolve AJ of his role in what has happened this last year, and he still, I think, takes the lion's share of the responsibility for this disappointing 82-80 season, even more so than Bob Melvin. But there was really no path forward to keep Bob and not keep AJ.
Right.
It wouldn't have made a lot of sense. So,
and based on everything we read, based on everything we heard, our interview with AJ, the Zoom call, the thought of those two guys working together next year is not, it didn't feel like a tenable situation. It didn't feel like it was going to be productive. It felt like it was going to continue to be tense. Great. Everyone splits. AJ survives. Bob doesn't. Bob goes to the Giants. Now, the only thing you can hope for as a fan is that we don't get our ass kicked in by Bob Melvin for the next 3 years. That's it. That's at this point. I did laugh. I was driving into work this morning thinking about what a coup it would be if Bob pulled the Sean Manaea and said, last year I just really was checked out and I'm refreshed and recharged and ready to be here in San Francisco. I'll lose my mind then. That's how Bob Melvin will lose me if he does what Sean Manaea did. I don't know that I've ever been more mad at a baseball player in my whole life than I was at sweet, innocent little angel Sean Manaea, so I thought. And then he's like, I stopped trying last year. I'm like, we went to the NLCS and you gave up.
We needed pitching.
Yeah,
in the
we needed
NLCS.
arms. Like, bro, you didn't do your running and your plyo balls and stuff. What are we doing?
Yeah, I learned. You can't cheat this game.
Can't cheat this
It'll
game.
humble you.
Like, why would you cheat this team that's going and this fan base? Like, so that if Bob pulls some stuff like that, I'm going to lose my mind.
So he played for Bob Melvin in Oakland.
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah.
your guy, and you just completely essed the bed.
Yeah, you just completely soiled your diaper, man.
So it's looking more and more like Mike Shildt is the favorite to take over the job. Get some of your thoughts on if Shildt is the guy. What is your reaction as a fan to that? 833-288-0973. Come back, talk to our Tier 1s after traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Viejas Casino and Resort. The folks are doing a pretty good job of staying out of trouble on our roads. No incidents or accidents to report. We are seeing the usual slowing in the usual spots, but at least nothing getting in your way. Traffic in San Diego may be stressful, so let Viejas Casino and Resort alleviate your anxiety. Take a dip in alluring relaxation, rejuvenate in Willow Spa, or win that life-changing jackpot. Your unmatched staycation experience is just 25 minutes from downtown. Viejas Casino and Resort. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Did see in The Athletic yesterday that, and I don't know if it's true or it's just speculation, but another non-playoff season might even be too much for Peter Seidler when it comes to AJ. And you may have then a cleaning of the house if the Padres don't turn things around next year. I'll believe it when I see it. And when someone tells me otherwise, that Peter Seidler has changed his mind on his president of baseball operations. If the Padres make the playoffs and go on a run next year, very different conversation. But if that doesn't happen, that will be a very, very tricky time because you can't really make any arguments to your fan base other than he's not getting the job done at that point. And then maybe you do the cleaning house and
a decade.
Yeah,
Decade,
then Mike
seasons.
Shildt might be a one-year manager at that point as well.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. What are your guys' thoughts on whoever the next manager may be? If you're AJ Preller, you have 3 seasons remaining on your deal, right?
Through 2026 is what we've been told or led to believe.
Okay. Do you give the new manager that? Do you give him, all right, man, like we're in this together for at least the next 3, let's go on a run. You got 24, 25, and through 26, so the 3-year deal. Do you give Mike Shildt a 3-year deal?
I would say.
Does Mike Shildt take a 1-year deal?
Well, I don't think you offer a 1-year deal to a manager. It's a poor look in terms of dipping your toe into the managerial water.
Yeah.
I just did a search in my email for the press release from February of 2021.
Okay.
The Padres today announced the promotions of Eric Grupner to CEO and Preller to President of Baseball Operations and General Manager. The 2 executives have signed contract extensions through the 2026 season.
Yeah. So 3 more seasons.
How do we get a 5-year deal?
That's a nice. That's a nice deal.
3 years, my ass.
Adam.
Is baseball knocking down Mike Shildt's door?
That's take that San Francisco radio job.
I'm sure Mike Shildt has an agent at some point who's going to negotiate the deal, and he's going to go and say, "Well, this 1-year offer is nice, but we're also talking to the Guardians, and they've been interested, so you're going to have to up your deal." I would say if you're the Padres, you start with 2 is your offer to Mike Shildt and see if you can get it there and not commit to 3 years. If things go great in year 1, you can always extend him. If they don't go well, you're probably looking at maybe a cleaning of the house of your organization, and you're not going to want to be tied to a manager as well as a general manager at that point. So, I would say you start at 2 and see if you can get the deal going from there. Skip Schumacher took a 2-year deal in Miami. It's not unheard of for a manager to accept a 2-year contract, but it may end up being a 3-year deal just because of the reality of the economics and the negotiations process. But putting the cart ahead of the horse a little bit at this point.
Yeah, and I'm going to do some due diligence on Mike Shildt. We know enough people, Katie Wu, that cover the Cardinals and know Mike Shildt if it is him. The guy we've asked Adam Jones about Ryan Flaherty before. He was asked yesterday about Flash on Twitter. He said he'd be great for the job, but that's also his buddy. The way I look at it, and I said it yesterday, and I stand by it. I don't know. And Bryce Miller basically made the same point. He's tight with Manny. The guys like him. He works with them every day. Hiring one of the boys, we've all got groups of friends. And if one of my boys was now my manager, I could probably do it because I love the gig, but you could see how it would get a little bit weird.
I saw the phrase "the Manny Whisperer" used. Ryan Flaherty's already doing that.
Correct.
I mean, there's nothing new he can do as manager that he's not already doing as bench coach / offensive coordinator. If there was something magical he could have said to the San Diego Padres that could have turned around this season, sure as hope he would have said it. Well, I know how to fix this team, but I'm not the manager, so I'm just going to keep it to myself until they hire me. That's not how it works.
That's not how it works.
He was already doing everything he could to help the Padres succeed. Mike Shildt was also in the organization, and
Haven't
you
we
can make
tried that with Manny and previous coaches? I mean, we brought in Dickerson, Wayne Kirby, Ryan Flaherty now.
And I'm happy keeping Ryan Flaherty on board. If he's still part of the coaching staff, I don't have a problem with that. You have to let him interview if there are other opportunities. But my guess is he'll probably still be part of a new staff, even if Mike Shildt is in charge of that staff going forward. So I don't think anything really changes there. What do you think out there? Let's go to our phone lines, 833-288-0973. RJ, welcome to Ben & Woods here on 97.3 The Fan. Good morning.
Holy Shildt, guys. Oh, my gosh.
You scared me for a sec.
Yeah, I thought so. Hey, listen, so here's my only hang-up is it's all about Preller. It's all about Preller. In the scenarios, you guys went to two scenarios, one of them in which you wouldn't want a new general manager to have the previous bench manager, or team manager, which I don't know that I agree with. But now we're talking about Shildt and having a 1 or 2 year deal in which the scenario of Preller being whacked is also in place. So I guess I'm trying to figure out which one do you guys want. I don't see why keeping Melvin, which it looks like it's not going to happen anyways, would have been such a bad idea for a new general manager. I mean, don't we keep hearing that he's a great guy, he's a wonderful baseball man?
Sure.
It seems to me that Preller cannot hang, and he's demonstrated for almost 10 years now that he can't hang. He can't do the job. This is about Preller. We see Melvin walk, bummer. Who are we going to get? Another puppet type guy who managed games in his dreams?
In his
My
head,
goodness. I mean, are we going to get a general manager who general managed teams in his or her dreams too? What is that? So I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm really, really disenchanted. All I got to say is go Rangers.
There you go.
Go Bruce Bochy. The more I watch him manage, the more I miss him. Gosh, I miss that guy. I'm watching all the BS going on here. And, he shows up in a year, he's going to the World Series. Gee, coincidence? No. He's amazing. He's got great players. And his 6'10" general manager over there, he's 6'10", right? Chris Young?
Yep.
Like 6'10".
Yep.
He's enormous. They're doing great work, and man, do I miss that. I miss Bochy so much. Even if he didn't win us a World Series, I still miss what he was all about. And I'm glad he's not working for Preller as much as I wanted him to. Hell no. He deserves better. We deserve better. Guys, where am I wrong? Help me out. You guys know this business better than me. I'm going to take
okay,
this
so
off.
RJ, let me jump in because there was one thing that you said that I wanted to address, and you said, he's just going to hire a puppet that he can, put his hand up and, make him do what he wants to do. And while that may partly be the case, and we've heard Mike Shildt and AJ Preller are aligned on certain, philosophies, and that might be part of the situation. What I understood, Woods, from this year is that the disagreements between AJ and Bob, it wasn't because Bob was forced to do things he didn't want to do. It's because Bob did things that AJ didn't want him to do. But Bob had control over what his lineups. He had kind of
I don't know about that.
That's the way I understood it. That AJ wasn't a big fan of the way Bob was running the team this year, and wanted some different changes in place that weren't necessarily how he wanted his players being used.
Well,
Now, I think Bob had some legitimate complaints about the depth on the
roster,
team and the roster construction.
We heard it.
But AJ wasn't happy about some of the, the lineup decisions and how guys were being used entirely. But I didn't get the sense that Bob was handcuffed in what he was doing.
Handcuffed by the lack of depth, I think.
Yeah,
but
perhaps.
Other than that,
But he had his autonomy. He managed an 82-80 team. He wasn't a puppet for AJ Preller. It wasn't AJ pulling the strings down there on the field. It was Bob managing this team this year. That was Bob's team.
What was the micromanaging then? Micromanaging what?
everything in the organization.
Well, then wouldn't that lead you to believe that he did have a lot of lineup input and pitching input?
I'm sure he had input every single day, but I think sometimes it was ignored, or it was not taken into consideration, and that was not, AJ wasn't happy about that.
Didn't we hear that Bob had to boot people out of hitters meetings and
Yeah.
stuff? Because at the end of the day,
and
unless your GM is Ted Williams, I don't want my GM in our hitters meeting.
I get that. I think if there wasn't a trust there, AJ didn't trust Bob was going to run do things that he wanted, so he kept throwing guys in there, like, hey, no, I want to do it this way, because he didn't like the way things were being run. But he, for the most part, I think he let Bob run and wasn't happy with the way it was going.
And again, I will never understand for the life of me why a president of baseball ops or a general manager wouldn't literally come out into a press conference and say, by the way, my job is to acquire players. I'm going to do that. His job is to do the lineup and manage in-game. I'm staying out of his hair. Basically, you're telling the world, if he F's up, it's on him. It's on him. I don't know why you wouldn't say that. It'd be the first day. I'd be like, by the way, Ben is my manager. I'm not going to talk to Ben unless he needs me and needs an arm and he can come to me. That's it. This is Ben's team. And if you mess it up, it's your fault. And it's your ass.
We've got more callers on the line. We'll reset, continue this conversation. Hour number 3 of Ben and Woods coming up next here on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, my friends, we are halfway home on a Tuesday morning. Beautiful. God bless. Look at that day outside that awaits us in just 2 more hours. Listen, everyone is feeling a certain type of way right now, and that's okay. Your feelings are absolutely justified. This is like me talking to my 5-year-old. Listen, you're justified in feeling the way you want to feel right now. You're feeling a lot of emotions right now, and that's okay. We, at some point, have to move on, right? And what's next? You know, the spilled milk thing is real. You can't cry about it. I mean, and I understand the pain. Well, the timing for A.J. Preller right now couldn't be worse. By the way, it's Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. I'm Woodsy. That's Paul. That's Ben. The timing for A.J. Preller and the Padres could not be worse with Bruce Bochy taking that team to the World Series. You just heard that caller. I miss him. I miss him so much. I would have done anything.
At least AJ can say I'm not the one who fired Boch. That was
exactly
long
right.
before I got here.
That's exactly right. But, you know, the fact that there were ties here and you watch Boch take that team with a bunch of Padres guys on it and executives and everything else, and they're in the World Series, that can't feel great. And I know A.J. Preller well enough to know that you see that and you go, oh, God, all right. You know, your ex moves on with somebody way more handsome and, you know, gets the world. And so, but at some point, you know, there's nothing we can do. Bruce Bochy's not coming back. Bob Melvin's not coming back. How do we move forward as a fan base, as a team, as a radio show? How do we do it?
By the way, we haven't addressed the potentially almost comically laughable situation. What if the Giants decide, you know what?
We don't want them.
We don't want them. Now what do the Padres do? Now they have Bob Melvin under contract. Now do you have to fire him at this point?
Then you fire him. You pay him out his $4 million, which none of this would surprise me, by the way. And then Bob Melvin goes to manage the Houston Astros, right, who are going to be without a manager. He goes to manage the New York Mets. I believe his daughter lives in New York. I've heard that recently.
Now, he was offered the Mets job, from what I understand, when the Padres also hired him, but
he wanted to be
stay
West Coast.
West Coast. He wanted to spring train in Arizona, which the Mets don't do. The Astros don't do. They spring train in Florida.
But when you are out of a gig and then you get fired, you do fire him though, right?
That's my question. Is there any scenario in which Bob Melvin could still be back as manager?
Yes, there is. And you know how I know? Because we're talking about the San Diego Padres. That's how I know that anything is possible.
Seems very unlikely. But
Connie Mack's skeleton could be managing in the dugout next year, and I wouldn't be surprised. Ted Williams' head could be our manager. I wouldn't be surprised. I've learned 5 years covering this team on a day in, day out basis, talking about them, I'd say 94% of our show every day for years. We don't really deviate much from Padres talk. Nothing is shocking to me that they do. Nothing is shocking. Nothing. So I can't be surprised. If I couldn't be surprised if he pulled somebody out of the minor leagues to manage. I could be Philip Wellman. I have no idea. Nothing is going to surprise me. Bob Melvin was shocking when he got it because he wasn't available. He just wasn't a guy that anybody had said was on the move.
We're not looking at managers who aren't available.
Right.
That's
exactly right.
But that's how the Padres got their last manager.
Yep. And that's seemingly how the Giants will get theirs. I can't imagine that the Giants aren't going to go ahead. I mean, the fact that they sat in the weeds and waited, and they did a couple of interviews and stuff, but
it would be very Machiavellian of the Giants because from what we've learned, or at least led to believe, Bob wouldn't have even gone up to San Francisco to talk to them without the assurance that he was their top candidate.
Yeah, for sure.
Top candidate's not 100% you've got the job, but it's basically if you don't mess things up. And Bob seems like he's a smart enough guy not to mess up an interview on the scale of getting a job like that. So you'd figure that their plan is to hire him. Now, the Giants could lie. You can always say, yeah, you're our top guy. And knowing that even if he's not, you mess with a division rival at the same time. Like, we can cause more chaos within the San Diego Padres by simply asking for permission. Why wouldn't you do it? If you're the Giants, if you know that whether we want Bob or not, just asking the question of the Padres is going to throw that whole organization for a loop right now. It's a fairly Machiavellian, somewhat evilly genius move by the San Francisco Giants. I do think they're hiring
God,
Bob
is
Melvin.
Brilliant. I didn't think about that really in that perspective of
Padres
we're
Padres
good.
should ask for permission to interview every manager in baseball and just throw everyone for a loop.
That's crazy, man. Crazy.
Dave Roberts, would you like to come back to San Diego? We'd love permission to interview you. Yeah, you're a top candidate.
So if Dave Roberts comes back, I have to quit.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, yeah.
I've quit.
You're out of a job.
I'm out of a job.
Yeah.
I really dug myself in a hole, didn't I? All right, well, it's 94.9. It's your old pal Woods rechecking in. What's new with capital cities? We'll find out next here on 94.9.
We got radio stations all up and down this building you can work at.
Hey, it's Woodsy for Sunny 98.1. And here's some
Rob and Joss and Woods.
Here's some Burl Ives Christmas music for you. I used to work in sports, but Dave Roberts is our manager. I no longer can.
All right, it's Woodsy here on KSON. Up next, we got the new Luke Bryan song.
Here's the latest from Dierks Bentley.
John and Tammy and Woods.
Good Lord. I have to quit. You'll be fine.
I'd be okay. We'll make it work.
God, really should stop burning bridges. You think I'd learn by now to stop burning bridges, but I would have to quit my job.
Let's go back to the phones, 833-288-0973. Always good to hear from Mike. Mike, good morning. Welcome to Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
WTF, Preller. So I think it sounds like everybody's already moving on from Bob, and I understand from the situation.
Oh, we lost WTF Preller.
There you
go. There you go. You're back. We lost you for a second there.
Start over.
I'm sorry. Okay, so I understand that, Bob's probably going to be gone. I really like the guy, but I understand how, this politics works because of AJ making that announcement of saying, yes, Bob will be back, and then this happens. It's frustrating for what he's going about his ways. Now, my question to you guys is, would you continue to want a general manager that has made, over a 400% winning percentage? I mean, it's just frustrating. But here's my thing: is we make consensus. Okay, we got to get rid of Bob. So why don't we just have AJ stay on the team, but let him be president of operations and bring in a new GM? Because we know new GMs and new coaches work because of Skip and Kim. Why don't we give Kim the job and let her work with Mike Shildt if it's Mike Shildt?
So to answer your question, I mean, it's pretty much out of the realm of possibility because she just left the Marlins job because they said to her, hey, great job getting us to the playoffs. Great moves at the deadline. You really helped push us over the edge. We're going to now hire a president of baseball ops and put them over you. And she said, absolutely not. I deserve better. If you're going to promote somebody, promote me. AJ Preller's got both gigs. Promote me. I'll be the president of baseball ops and the GM. And we roll. And they said, nope. So I don't think there's a couple of reasons why that wouldn't work. Number one, I just don't know that AJ Preller would be able to hire a general manager.
Now, does he mean hire under AJ?
Yeah,
or did
he
you
means
mean
hire under.
not instead in replacing AJ just with Kim Ng right now?
Yeah,
Under.
And she's not going to take that gig. He's not going to offer it,
I
don't
still think that hiring a GM, though, would be a great move for AJ at this point.
It would go a long way with the fan base, I'll tell you that.
Well,
that's one thing I do know.
Yeah, it would be good from a PR standpoint, but, it could be good from a communications standpoint as well. Take some of that off of AJ's plate. I know he doesn't like to give up anything on his plate. He's like Thanksgiving, and you know how when you have the plate at Thanksgiving and things are like spilling off the sides because you want everything? That feels like AJ's plate more than any other president of baseball operations. No one does the kind of in-person scouting that AJ does. They all do a little bit of it, but AJ does a ton of it. The day-to-day, the draft, the process of the draft that he gets into. He gets into everything in his job so much.
The weeds.
It's an amazing quality about AJ Preller. He does more than anybody else, but it's also a weakness that he has to overcome. And this is one way that he can take some of that off of his plate. Maybe some of the things that it's not bad to admit that you're not perfect at everything.
100%. And it doesn't make you
I'm
weak.
not, you're not, Paul's not, and AJ's not. And a couple of the things that he seems to be a little weak at is the the day-to-day management skills and the communication skills.
Yeah, it doesn't make you weak.
No.
It doesn't at all.
It can make you very strong to recognize that and empower someone to help you in those areas. And if he can do that with a general manager, even if it's not Kim Ng, there's someone out there that can help AJ, I would think. I like that idea.
I couldn't agree more, man. I couldn't agree more. And he is truly one of the only human beings on the planet that could go sit down in an interview and they said to him, "What's your weakness?" And he does the old, "I work too hard." I think he's the only one on the planet that could say it and actually mean it. Because if I say it, I'm full of S, right? I care too much. I work too hard.
I know you are, and Mike brought it up. You are what your record says you are. And AJ Preller's record as general manager for many years has been poor. Now, there is always context to everything. I mean,
it's a lot of context.
Okay, well, if you're just going with record, then the Padres are upgrading their manager because Mike Shildt has the 7th best record all time of any manager with at least 300 games managed in baseball history. Better than Bob Melvin, better than Bruce Bochy. Mike Shildt has been more successful in his time as manager than all but 6 people who have ever stepped into the dugout. So, in that sense, I mean, if you are what your record says you are, then Mike Shildt is a big win here if that's who the Padres hire.
Sure.
But there's context to it as well. He took over a great job for 3 years in an organization that was primed for success while he was there.
He's taken over a lineup that's got star power in it. It's not Andy Green taking over.
And yes, if he gets the job here, he'll also be set up again. It's not the same as someone like Mark Kotsay's record's going to be awful.
Correct.
He's going to have the worst record of all time. But there's context to go with that.
And no one blames Mark Kotsay at all.
Right.
Nor should you.
But do you think Mike Shildt would be an improvement for the Padres? A step backwards? A lateral move?
So at this point, Paulie, you have to look at it as a positive. And I'm not saying that because I'm on the flagship. I've ripped this team yesterday, and I'm going to continue to rip them when they do goofy stuff. I think you have to look at Shildt as a positive because if Bob Melvin doesn't want to be here and cannot feasibly get along with AJ Preller, you bring in a guy that's got a couple of years with him, right? Got a couple of years of working closely with him, knows what to do, knows what not to do, knows the players, has the respect of the players for at least managing big league games. I think it could potentially end up being a positive for this organization. We said it after the season ended. I watched too many press conferences last year, and I'm a big Bob Melvin fan, as you know. I watched too many press conferences last year that were filled with sharp digs, right? And he's not wrong. He wasn't wrong when he talked about some of the lack of depth on the team. Whoever it is, if it's Shildt, great. They are already kind of on the same page. Now, we all know relationships can fracture. You can be together with somebody for 5 years and you're no longer friends at the drop of a hat. That happens in life, in business, certainly. But if it's going to be anybody, I don't look at it as really a lateral move. I look at it as really potentially a pretty positive thing. I do.
If this is the plan going forward,
I would tell you by the way, I would tell you if I didn't. I don't think Ryan Flaherty would be a step up from Mike Shildt. I don't.
No,
or Bob Melvin.
I'd like to hear, though, and when he's ready, from Peter Seidler. And if he still has the faith in AJ Preller turning it around, I will respect that. It's Peter's team. He knows everybody better than we will as well. He talks with them every day. He understands the organization. I would like to hear, though, Peter say something to the effect of, however, if I am wrong about this, then we will have to make some changes going forward.
Yes.
I don't like the idea as a fan just thinking AJ is immune to whatever, no matter how bad the things get. Padres could take a step further back next year and win 75 games. I don't like the idea of thinking that he's immune to responsibility and consequences of failure that everybody else in the world of sports lives with on a daily basis. You can't escape that generally if you're a manager, a general manager, a coach in football, basketball, college, whatever.
Not just sports, everywhere. If you're an exterminator and you go to 40% of your appointments, you're out of a job. You're out of a job. If you are a plumber and you unclog 4 out of 10 toilets, you're not a plumber anymore. It doesn't matter if you're a sales rep and you only sell, a very small amount. you're not working anymore. That's life in general. In sports, it's even worse. It's like, we gave him 2 years. Lincoln Riley was the
there's
cream
always
of the crop.
extenuating circumstances. Do you know how clogged those toilets were? I mean,
Sure.
You've never seen a toilet clogged like the one they sent me to. I'm sorry
I get
that
it.
I couldn't get that fixed, but that thing was clogged.
But we're talking about going on a decade here, right? And so sports is even worse.
It
It's
is.
like 2 years. Lincoln Riley, they want him gone in USC. There are people calling for his head. He's got a 10-year deal, and they're like, 2 years, 17-5, same record as Clay Helton. You're out of here. We deserve better. It's sports. Here, how much rope does A.J. Preller get? He's gotten a ton. Now, if they win, no one cares. No one cares who's the skipper. No one cares who's the general manager. Just win, baby.
All right, we're gonna take a timeout. I'll tell you one thing that A.J. Preller did this last offseason that I don't think it's a good idea for general managers to really be doing. We'll get to that coming up next after a check of traffic. More Ben and Woods on the way on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Berries. Hey, they're fantastic. 100%.
Vikings upsetting the San Francisco 49ers 22-17. I'm just reminding everyone they can listen to Kickoff with Boomer and Valenti
football.
every Friday morning at 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. every Friday night, at 6 p.m. here on 97.3 The Fan. Live on the free Odyssey app. It's presented nationally by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos, brought to you by those who drink it, and by Lowe's. Lowe's knows home improvement. Kevin O'Connell was starting to feel a little bit of the heat after their slow start for the Vikings this season. Their only wins were over Carolina and Chicago. And they had lost, I think, all their other games by less than one touchdown. But beating the 49ers on Monday Night Football, Kirk Cousins, who I think was 2-10 in primetime games or something like that before last night, he was terrific. I know you were focused on baseball. I had both games on, and Kirk Cousins, I have not seen him come through. He looked like Tom Brady last night, just delivering and third down. Every time they needed a third down conversion, he got out of a sack and somehow stepped up and made another play and another play. It was one of the better performances I've seen out of Kirk Cousins last night. And Vikings are now 3-4. You're back in playoff contention, at least wild card contention at 3-4 with that win. And the 49ers, who 2 weeks ago looked like no one's stopping their run to the Super Bowl. They had just beaten the Cowboys, destroyed them, looked like the class of the NFL, and, of course, they dropped 2 games in a row. So truly is that week-to-week league.
The NFL sucks like that sometimes, man. It really is.
For gamblers,
it's
for
tough,
sure.
It's
it makes
tough
it very hard to
handicap.
Pick games.
Who's going to show up? Who's going to get hurt in the first quarter? Who's going to go out?
I mean, they had Christian McCaffrey. He scored 2 more touchdowns, 16 straight games. When you're running, you're starting the game. We're getting at least one touchdown out of our running back.
Every time.
That's a great place to start. But you do need to finish it out, and they were unable to do so last night on the road. So, the Lions lost this week after they had looked so good. They got clobbered by the Ravens. So now you're down to the Chiefs all of a sudden after losing their opener. They haven't lost. The Eagles dropped the one, but they bounced back with a win this last week. So you got the 2 one-loss teams. You still have the winless Panthers, I believe, and then everyone else is that.
It is a lot of
cushy middle of the NFL right now.
Bills 4-3, Jets 3-3. Texans, by the way, are 3-3. Colts are 3-4. Yeah,
kind of like C.J. Stroud.
Yeah,
so far.
Raiders are 3-4. It's kind of middling right now. The NFL.
I mean, none of them are really good teams. The Falcons are just very middling for a 4-3 team.
Yeah. Saints are 3-4. It's
an
average.
The Chargers aren't even to that level. They're 2-4, right? I mean, they're not even at the middling level, which is sad.
Yeah, they're 2-4.
How kind of unremarkable that level is right now.
You know what their point differential is?
Probably positive.
It's negative.
Really?
Negative 11.
Wow.
Chiefs.
They deserve it.
Chiefs and the Ravens running away.
Well, the Chiefs have already won the AFC West. Yeah. Essentially. What's their lead? Like 3.5 games?
Yep.
So if the Chargers won all their games, they'd still need the Chiefs to lose like 4 more times. Is that really going to happen? Probably not. So that division is over halfway through the season.
Highest point differential in the NFL.
49ers still?
Yeah, 92.
Yeah.
And
they got off to such a good start.
And then the Bills at 80.
But the Bills have been as inconsistent as anyone. Huge wins, but really, I mean, losing to the Patriots, I mean, that's a stunner. The Patriots look like the worst team in football, and then they beat the Bills. So, yeah, it's a hard league week to week to predict what's going to go on.
It is.
All right, I teased it. Something that AJ did in the last offseason, and I understand why he may have done it, but it's something that I don't think general managers should be doing. And that is, when you sign a player, you can't really promise them anything about where they'll play or where they're going to hit in the lineup.
It's like the biggest bane of my existence.
I get that you need to convince them to sign with your team, and you're trying to differentiate yourself from other offers in other organizations. But particularly with Xander Bogaerts, the promise was made, and it's been acknowledged. You're our shortstop. If you sign here, you're our shortstop for 1 year at least. And he was. They followed through with that commitment, and they played Xander.
He was better than average.
He was
short.
No,
yeah.
and I'm not putting this necessarily on Xander Bogaerts, but when you make that promise, you put a lot of people in a tough situation. Your manager, first of all, who will look at your roster and go, it might not be my best team out there every day to have Xander Bogaerts at shortstop. You're also then putting yourself in a really awkward situation after that one-year promise is over. Now the Padres are kind of going through that. We're hearing stories about is this the offseason that they ask Xander Bogaerts to move off of shortstop? Is he going to second base? Is he going to first base? Is he going to, rightfully feel like, hey, I was promised shortstop. I know they only promised me 1 year, but it was kind of wink, wink, nod, nod. It'll probably be like 3 or 4. I'll eventually move over, but not yet. Is he going to be upset if he's asked to move right away after that one-season promise?
Yes. The answer is yes. He said, I'm not moving to first. Closer to the dugout. That's the quote.
If you move him to second base, are you simply shifting the problem over? I don't want to say that Xander's the problem, but you still don't have a first baseman.
Right. He was the square peg, though. Like, that was the signing that
Correct.
was the square peg signing. And it really threw everything into a tizzy. And the quote that came out, this is a piece that dropped, I think, on Friday, right when we were walking out the door in The Athletic again. The quote in there that surprised me the most was that Fernando Tatis Jr. still wants to play shortstop someday. And I'm like, that's the one that makes
But
me...
he also prefers right field to center
field.
If he's going to stay in the outfield.
Right. But I guess I didn't realize that Tatis was wanting to move back to short. I don't know why he wouldn't. It's awesome. He's an elite talent. I don't know why he wouldn't. But then why did you sign Xander Bogaerts then?
Now you have two players who both feel like their best position is short. And you
3,
also have
Ha-Seong Kim.
And you have another player who actually is your best shortstop in Ha-Seong Kim, at least defensively.
Oh my God!
AJ has put the Padres in a very awkward situation of his own doing.
It is absolutely of his own doing. Now, conversely, I'll take the other side here. What is your goal as a baseball player to make a living? Well, you've all got massive deals, hugely massive deals. Put your ego aside. Do what is best for the team. And you may feel that you can't have 3 guys at short. It's not, that defensive alignment is not allowed. You can't just put those 3 dudes over at shortstop and go, hey, may the best man win. You all got big contracts, except for Ha-Seong Kim, by the way, who is willing to go play anywhere, anytime. He doesn't have a huge contract yet. But the guys that you did sign to big deals are like, I don't want to. I want to do this. No, you got your deal. You don't want to say, like, you work for us now, but what's best for the team needs to be the direction moving forward. That's a hard combo to have.
I want to keep talking about this coming up. If you have some thoughts, 833-288-0973. It's not what's best for the team. I disagree with you there, and I will explain why when we come back. More on Xander Bogaerts and position changes in the offseason for the Padres coming up next year on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour on Bennett Woods is brought to you by Smart and Final. Halloween shopping making you want to scream. Head to Smart and Final for tricks, treats, and a whole lot of sweets. Pick up candy, Halloween decorations, and more in one trip. And that's it. Only at Smart and Final. Going to get out your phone calls here on position changes. And I get what you're saying, Woods. Once you've got your bag, your contract.
Yes.
It's all about what can I do to help the team win, and ultimately
should be in a perfect world.
Ultimately, I do agree with that, but I don't think that's the attitude that would drive a player necessarily to succeed. I think that they should do what it takes to win, but I think to really succeed, if Xander Bogaerts is asked to play first base, I don't think he goes over there thinking, I'm going to do this because this is what gives us the best chance to win. I think you need to go over there and I want to show I can be the baddest first baseman that I could possibly be. Like, it's a skill. It's impressive to be able to go around the diamond, play different positions, and dominate and do well at different positions. Like, this is a challenge, and I get to try this challenge of playing first base in the big leagues. And don't look at it as I'm going to embarrass myself. I should be over at shortstop. I'm going like, this is cool. I'm gonna rock it at first base. I'm gonna work on picking balls. I'm gonna make these other infielders the best that they can be. I'm an athletic, skilled, talented person, and I can do great things wherever they put me on the diamond.
Well, and the problem is people say, well, we didn't need him. Okay, I get it. We absolutely didn't. It was a total vanity signing by A.J. Preller, who wanted to make a splash. Well, you made a splash, and now the water is lapping over the edges of the pool, because you have a glut of prospects, you have a glut of guys already on the team. I mean, Tatis still wanting to go back and play short at some point in his career. That makes me nervous, because that's when a guy's like, hey, it's fine playing out here, but trade me. I'd rather play somewhere where I can play short. And I'll tell you what, man, there's probably 25 teams that would take Fernando Tatis Jr. as their shortstop tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe 29 other teams that would do it tomorrow, period. Did he have some work to do? Sure. Absolutely. They all do. But he clearly is a freak that can do anything on a baseball field.
But I do think a gold glove possibly coming up here in right field
could change it.
Start changing your mind. When you feel like you can... Well, I could actually establish a legacy out here.
Sure.
I could, I'm 24, and if I continue to do this and
For
show
10 more
every
years,
year,
yeah.
I could go down as one of the greatest outfielders in the history of the game. That's not a bad legacy to have.
Which is why that comment surprised me. It shouldn't, but it did.
But back to Xander, I know it's a little bit apples and oranges, but you can look in the past and see guys that got old, got slow, and they moved from left field to first base. But why don't you look at the NLCS tonight and look at Bryce Harper? He moved over. I mean, I know, again, he was banged up.
Injured, yeah.
Moved over.
Would rather be out there than nowhere.
But my God, has he just stepped in and be like, yeah, done. I got it. I got this, guys. Don't worry about it.
That's the thing I think, I don't want to say it's missing. I don't want to question anybody's heart, and I don't want to question anybody's effort. I really don't, because I don't know what's in their heart. I think I know what's in their heart, that they're very well-paid, well-respected baseball players that play the game hard. I do feel that. I feel like we do have some hard-nosed guys on this team. Are they all playing for each other? Are they all playing for themselves? Are they all playing for the city, the name on the front? That I can't speak to. That I don't know. I don't get the feeling that they are all the time. I don't, because I hear a lot of Bob Melvin must have had a notepad full of, well, I can't hit him here and I can't put him there and he doesn't want to pitch then. And it makes the job a little bit harder instead of 26 guys that go, wherever you need me, I will play.
It felt like Bob Melvin had to do negotiations
of course.
And ego smoothing every time he made a lineup change.
Every single day, man. And
except with Fernando. I mean, maybe there was behind the scenes,
yeah.
But fourth, first, second, third, wherever you want, he seemed to go with the flow pretty well this year.
Angelo says maybe Xander thinks he has an outside shot at the Hall of Fame as a shortstop, but no chance as a first baseman where offensive stats are much better than his. Yeah, I mean, maybe, but I don't care about Xander Bogaerts' Hall of Fame credentials. I really don't. I want to win a World Series here, and I want to win multiple World Series here. So I'm not saying he needs to move to first either. I'm not. And again, we're gonna go circular. We're gonna go round and round this thing all year. Well, this sucks because we didn't really need him. He's here. He's here for 10 more years. So, like, we got to make it work.
I want to get out to these phone calls. 833-288-0973. You also made that comment about playing for your city and the front of the jersey. Everyone talks about Philly and those guys playing for Philadelphia, which seems clear and is great. No one says anything about the guys who are playing for Phoenix. Like, we are Phoenix through and through. No, I've not heard one thing about that. But
I'm proud of myself.
Guess what? They have 3 wins in the National Championship Series, as well as that team that is all about each other and playing for Philadelphia, and they're one win away from the World Series.
Well, I think the media has obviously blown up
Philly.
the Philly thing,
of course,
because you see the ballpark and you see the fans and they go crazy, and you hear the players say, "I love it here, man. I can't. There's no place like this." You don't hear that a lot from.
You don't. But
So-
guess what? They could win today and be in the World Series anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or they could lose, and it doesn't mean they didn't play hard
That's
for the
true
city.
too. That's
you
true
know?
too. All right, we'll get to these phone calls right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change, your 15-minute instant drive-thru oil change. We saw this crash on southbound 805 at the West 8 connector ramp. Several vehicles involved. They are over to the right shoulder. Looks like that is in the clearing stage. Stop by any of the 30 San Diego Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change centers. You don't have to get out of your car. It usually only takes 15 minutes or less. Visit SoCalOilChange.com for discounts and locations nearest you. Valvoline Oil Change centers are open 7 days a week. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station. 97.3 The Fan.
I know Lenny always plays hard for La Mesa, or at least he calls from there.
He rides hard for La Mesa.
Lenny, always good to hear from you. Good morning.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, good morning, guys. You know, Ben, I texted you last night. The last time the Padres management got rid of a manager, he's going to the Hall of Fame. It's so hard to believe that a year ago we were in the NLDS and we have all these problems now. My question is, and no one's asking, why is ownership and Peter Seidler so in love with A.J. Preller? I mean, he's turned his team into a Sando right now, and I don't understand how it's going to work out.
It's a good
That's
point.
a good
man.
question.
It's a good
why,
question.
Why is Peter enamored with A.J. Preller? I'll take a stab at that
He's
one
excellent.
at least. I think when you have an employee who lives and breathes all the time, like 24 hours a day, wanting to make your organization successful. And I don't doubt that that's what AJ is all about. That's a very appealing thing as an owner, to know that whether he's making the right decision or not, this guy is working from the time he wakes up at 5 in the morning until the time he goes to bed at 2 in the morning about the Padres and making them better. That's appealing, right? I mean, you'd want to have someone at the radio station. Woods, you're kind of like that.
Not really.
Other than when you're, taking care of your kids.
Go to sleep at like 8.
And going to bed early and
I think about it 24
playing
hours
adult
a day.
baseball.
I don't play ball anymore. I'm not allowed. I got kids. I've got the kibosh put on that. I do. I get no time for myself, really, other than right after the show for an hour. But after that, man, like, I am thinking about the show 24 hours a day. Not always healthy. Sometimes you have to not because it drives you crazy. I'm different, though. I don't think I would want that.
We wouldn't want that in an employee.
No, you know what I would want? You know what I would value? Is somebody that's able to get the job done in 10 hours and not 18. And that had, a life outside of the San Diego Padres, I think could be that's how you live, being so committed and everything else. If you're spinning your wheels and you're not winning games, it doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't. I always loved the coach. Oh man, that coach, that guy slept. He would sleep at the office. Sean McVay, his bit. He got 22 hours a day, sleeps at the office. Sean McVay's married with a kid now. You can't do that forever. Like, your life's going to change. There is a life outside of your sports organization. And if you're working 18 to 20 hours on a job that should take you 12, is that a plus?
Yeah, well, he won the Super Bowl when he was doing the 20-hour thing, and
He
now
did.
the Rams are, fairly mediocre. Now, he's got different players. They had salary cap issues. It's not simply on the amount of time
it's not
the
just
coach
him.
is putting into it.
It's not just him. Matt
Some
Rule.
similarities actually between the Rams, their model, and
The Padres?
Yeah.
Just go all in. It didn't
All
work for
in.
the Padres like it did for the Rams.
Yep.
But now the Rams are feeling the repercussions of going all in.
Yep, with no draft picks for 5 years or whatever it is. Like,
I mean, I think you take that trade off.
You take that trade, right? And that's what A.J. Preller was trying to do. He's not short of moxie. He's not short of guts. You know, that's one thing you can always say. He has made the Padres relevant again, sometimes too relevant. It feels like as they're doing specials on MLB Network about the frivolous spending. When you have other pitchers in the big leagues, I saw Paul Sewald called out the Padres. We caught some shrapnel last week about spending frivolously. He's like, yeah, like the Mets and the Padres.
But
like
he's undoubtedly well prepared. There's Plan A and then Plan B. And C and D and E and F. And I'm sure Peter Seidler gets presented, in the offseason, like, oh, here are the 17 directions we may go, depending on what falls here into place. He's a well-prepared general manager who's focused, laser intent on his task.
Somebody told me this.
The effectiveness is what's in question.
Well, and again, if you're going to do a pros and cons list, I would say one of the pros of A.J. Preller is he has been able to talk his ownership into spending money, and that's not an easy thing for a GM to do, no question. Now, you're spending it in the wrong places, so that's a problem. Your pro has now become a con. Like, I'm able to convince you that we need Eric Hosmer at 144. I'm able to convince you that we need Xander Bogaerts at 280. That's a lot of dough I just spent. If I'm the owner, that's why I think Lenny's so confused, is because if you're Peter Seidler, you're like, bro, what did we give Adam Engel $1 million? He had 6 at bats. Like, these things add up.
I'd be terrible. I'd be like,
you'd
why
be the
did I
worst.
spend that
Yeah,
much?
you'd be
I don't want
terrible.
to spend money on golf balls. Do you think I want to spend money on 6 at bats from a center fielder who didn't even $1 million?
$1 million.
That'd keep me up at night if I was thinking that I spent that money on nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be a bad owner.
Yeah, you'd be really bad.
Yeah.
I would do. I would be like, whatever you need. Like, I just want to win. So you need a happy medium. But that's the thing, man. Is like, as fans, we should get used to the fact. I do feel in my gut he's going to be allowed to figure this out until his contract is up. Regardless of what happens next season or the season after that, I feel like he plays out his contract here in San Diego.
I mean, if Peter's willing to continue to fund it, all right, I'm not going to complain too much as a fan. My worry, of course, is that, like a lot of the rest of us, Peter will wake up one day and go, this is insane, AJ. We have to slash. I mean, you're already seeing a little bit
Tatis,
of
trade
it here
this,
because
trade
of
that,
the debt service rules. But we need to rein you in. And I mean, this can't go on anymore. I don't want Peter to get cynical and jaded and go, oh, spending money is not the way to win, because it is still the way to win in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Rangers.
You do have to spend.
They have a deep lineup of young talent too, but they spent a buttload of money. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah,
a buttload.
It is almost imperative. It was Eno. Was it Eno who joined us last week and said, there are always great stories about young, inexpensive teams that find their way into the postseason. Happens every year.
Every year.
But the teams that win the World Series, they spend money. Almost without a doubt. You look, World Series winner after World Series winner, they're going to be top 10 in payroll.
Oh, top 5.
Every single year.
Yep.
The Astros, the Rangers this year, the Diamondbacks would be one of the biggest surprises in really baseball history.
Philly spend money.
They're talking about like Miracle Mets 69.
Oh, yes.
A level of surprise. If the Diamondbacks won the World Series, Philly spend money. The Nationals even spent a ton of money when they won, the World Series. They had Scherzer, they had Strasburg, they had Harper, they had all kinds of money. Soto was young, but, they had all kinds of money committed at that point.
I just pulled up the MLB payrolls in 2023. Obviously, the Mets, Yankees, and Padres, 1 through 3. Philly was right behind them at number 4. Texas, still in there. They were 9th in baseball.
Top 10.
Top 10.
And then you got to scroll all the way
Well,
down.
but you got to think about what Texas spent the previous offseason as well. $800 million in 2 years or something.
Houston was 10, and then Arizona was the number 21, $116 million.
That's
payroll.
the shocker here. If Arizona somehow pulled it off, they would be a giant outlier in terms of World Series champions.
Baltimore obviously was a massive
No, Baltimore is like all
surprise,
this. A lot of teams. There's 12 playoff teams. You're going to have a couple of cheaper teams that get in there, but history has told us you want to win a World Series, you got to pay for it. You don't have to be the number 1 payroll, but there's a certain level that you need enough veteran guys and experienced guys that you can't do that on the cheap and win a World Series. Or, at least that we haven't seen one in a long time.
Yeah, it's going to be it's rare. That's the outlier for sure.
Let's go to David quickly. David, you're next up here. Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. Is that you out there? Maybe it's someone else.
Hello.
No.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Hi,
there you
gotcha.
are. No, it's not. Doesn't sound like. Who is this?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
My name is Paola.
Paola.
And I was just Paola.
Paola.
And I was just calling to say that Tatis does not have an ego.
Tatis does not have an ego. Okay.
Yeah.
I bet he has some ego.
I would think that. I would think there's some. Now
You need it. You have to have it.
Everyone has an ego.
You
Woods
have to
has
have
an ego. I have an ego.
Yeah.
It's how much you can suppress your ego. For the good
bigger,
of a collective.
The bigger picture. Yeah.
And I think Fernando Tatis Jr. did a great job.
Phenomenal.
Suppressing the ego a little bit this year. But that exists.
Sure, you have to have it in that game. You have to.
And what you say, this is going to shock some people. What you say publicly is not always what you think privately.
1,000%. 1,000%.
We don't know what Fernando thinks in, every moment of the day, but what he said this year was pretty solid.
It's really all you can ask for as a fan, dude. It really is all you can ask for. You say the right things, you play hard on the field. What else can you ask for? Really.
It was always my trouble with Phil Mickelson. He actually, what he did and said and the way he conducted himself always on the course, pretty darn solid. I mean, signed tons of autographs,
Yes.
was interactive, donates tons to charity. But there was always that side you kind of knew was behind the ego, that he had the arrogance that Phil has, and it's finally come out a little bit in the last year, and you get the stories of the Phil behind the scenes, what he was really like. He always got that sense, but it was hard to criticize him because he knew what to say, and he knew how to conduct himself publicly in an extremely professional manner. And that's part of the job. When you're a primetime athlete, you got to put on a show sometimes as well.
No doubt.
All right, we have 1 hour to go. Paulie's got a Reindl Report for us. We're going to talk a little bit basketball, right, at some point here?
Yeah,
the
we'll talk a little basketball.
start of the season. The money that flew around yesterday.
Good God.
Unbelievable. We'll get to all of it coming up next with Ben and Woods here on 97.3 The Fan.
think we all get antsy once the rumors start flying. We just want the news to break.
Yes.
And get on with it. They will probably be no official news today, as Major League Baseball does not like any announcements during playoff games. So with a Game 7 tonight.
They had this announcement the other day, and there were playoff games going on.
Well, I mean, they don't have to wait.
Melvin.
You know, that wasn't an official
that's
announcement. That's just rumors, and that was just a rumor, essentially.
We all believe it, but
but that was not an official announcement. The Giants won't announce any hiring of Bob Melvin until at least tomorrow. There's no games tomorrow. There are no games on Thursday. So you theoretically have those 2 days, if you're a team, to announce a potential managerial hire. I would be unsurprised if we did get some news either Wednesday or Thursday on Bob Melvin officially, and then the Padres can, and I'm sure they've already started behind the scenes, but can officially begin their search. Now, it's been reported that Preller intends to interview a lot of people because he always interviews a lot of people. He interviewed Mike Shildt last time when he ended up hiring Bob Melvin. You never know where that may play out in the future. Like, hey, I got some interesting ideas from this guy, and you put it in your file, you put it in your memory, and it's perhaps, a future opportunity will work with that person. And now, all of a sudden, it has played out. He hired Mike Shildt later for a different role and ended up perhaps making him now the favorite to be the new manager. You may also hear an announcement from the Cleveland Guardians tomorrow or Thursday. They have narrowed down their candidates, it appears, and have invited Stephen Vogt to a second interview, and he has become the front runner to take over in Cleveland. You feel like you're getting older when guys like Stephen Vogt are becoming managers. And going, I feel like he's a young player still in baseball. Now he's a manager. Where does the time go here, Woods?
It feels wild, man, because if Cleveland had a face, it would look like Stephen Vogt's face. Like when I saw that yesterday, I went, of course. It makes so much sense. Stephen Vogt would be the manager of the Cleveland Guardians. He looks like a literal Cleveland Guardian.
What does Cleveland look like? Stephen Vogt.
Yeah.
See, now when I think Cleveland, I think of Drew Carey for some reason.
That's weird. He's from there.
He is from Cleveland.
Yeah,
he's the face
right.
of Cleveland for me with those thick glasses and big, kind of larger sized head.
I see Stephen Vogt as being a pretty damn good pick. If you're going to go with somebody, first-time manager, I think he's got the resume to do it. That's great. I like that move for them. The other report came out this morning that Buck Showalter may have found a home right up the road in Anaheim, Ben. He is close with Angels GM Perry Manassian. They have a relationship. Don't know where it's from. Texas, maybe? Was he a Texas guy?
Well, since Buck has now managed, I think, 27 different teams, I'm sure they've worked together somewhere.
There's nobody he doesn't know at this point. But, that's one of those. Hey, that's one of those jobs I talked about yesterday. That's the cuck job where you're like, absolutely. I mean, you guys are losing Shohei Ohtani. Mike Trout may want out. We have no pitching. We got a couple of good young rookies, but we talked to Matty V last week, and he was high on a couple of the guys they have. But Buck Showalter,
Buck is so he's never good enough to keep a job. Yeah. He's always good enough to get another one.
Yes, it's amazing. Truly amazing. It's like GMs here, like, Buck Showalter's available? Son of a bitch. I'll give that guy a shot.
They hire him and they go, he's okay, but not what really we're totally looking for. We're moving on to someone else.
Crazy. And then he'll get another gig. He's probably got 3 more stops in his career after the Angels if they end up pulling the trigger on Buck Showalter. But that's the report out this morning as well. So, yeah.
But again, nothing official probably
till tomorrow.
Thursday, and if you don't do that, then you either have to wait for off days during the World Series or after the World Series is over. I'm sure many of these managerial searches won't conclude until after the World Series. I think maybe. that's when Bob Melvin was hired. It was early November, I think, when they had the Bob Melvin news finally broke a couple of years ago. So you're not behind yet in hiring a manager if you haven't done so, but you'll start getting some of the early hirings. That news will start trickling out, I would think, in the next couple of days.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you're a team, you want to get things going, and that's the one thing you got to lock down. If you're one of those teams that needs a manager, you need to lock it down. You need to get it going.
Just threw it in the YouTube chat. You're telling me that's the face of Cleveland, right?
That's the face of Cleveland. Stephen Vogt. If Cleveland had a face, that would be it.
I see it. I don't know what it is, but I see it.
100%.
I mean, down to earth. I mean, middle America, salt of the earth. It's a good thing, right?
Yeah, 100%.
He doesn't look pretentious.
No.
He doesn't
He's
look arrogant.
Yeah, hard nose. Yeah.
This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by the Caltrans Stormwater Program. Visit cleanwaterca.com. Let's change this to that by picking up after our pets, reducing pesticide use, and regularly servicing our vehicles. Learn how at cleanwaterca.com. That's cleanwaterca.com from Caltrans Stormwater. And get things started here with our today's edition of the Reindl Report.
Now tuned into the greatest.
Welcome to the Reindl Report with Paul Reindl.
Hi, Paul.
All right.
2 stories from the world of sports that we haven't gotten to yet.
We'll start off in Major League Baseball.
And 1 story that you didn't know you needed.
Are you laughing, biatch?
It's the Reindl Report
Hey, Paul, how you doing? Okay, how are you?
on 97.3 The Fan.
Are you ready to bless the mood? I need some help, please.
That was good.
Can I get a yeah? Oh, yeah.
All right.
All right. Gentlemen, we will start off in the National Basketball Association. Opening night, opening tip-off tonight. Woodsy, very excited. We got a TNT doubleheader, so you'll have Shaq and Kenny and Ernie and Chuck on the studio call.
You know what surprised me about today's lineup? Usually there's always the Knicks or the Celtics, some sort of early East Coast game. And then there's the Lakers usually, or the Warriors in a West Coast game.
Not today.
It's all West Coast to start the season.
Yeah, 4 Western Conference teams in action. 4:30, the defending champion Nuggets going to host the Lakers. And then after that, Golden State hosts Phoenix, Kevin Durant, and Devin
A lot
Booker.
of star power.
Oh, yeah.
You've got, obviously, the defending champs and
Jokic,
Nikola.
Murray.
And then you've got the Lakers, LeBron and AD. You've got Steph and now Chris Paul with Klay Thompson. I think Draymond's out. He's got an injury. And now you've got, as you said, Kevin Durant and the Warriors. And, they've got a star-fueled team. The Phoenix taking on the Warriors. Lots of stars tonight.
How do you feel your beloved Lakers are going to do this year?
I liked what I saw in the preseason.
Okay.
But they're not as good as the Denver Nuggets still. They got swept out of the playoffs last year. I don't think they passed them. LeBron's a year older. I think Anthony Davis is going to have a better season. He definitely looked better in the preseason, and I think he's poised to have a pretty big year. But my guess is they're like a 3rd or 4th seed in the West this year, and we'll see if LeBron can power them through the playoffs again. He's going to have to pace himself a little bit now. I'm at 21 seasons in the NBA.
A lot of running, dude.
It's a lot of mileage.
A lot of
on those
playoffs
legs.
every year, pretty
That's
much.
a lot of games.
Well, one team that you're going to have to wait till Thursday to see them is the Milwaukee Bucks. They got the opening game on Thursday's TNT doubleheader.
They're my pick to win the title.
But my God, did you see Giannis's new contract?
You guys just told me about it. Big
3
one.
years. $186 million contract extension for Giannis Antetokounmpo.
And they just got
Xander Bogaerts is a steal.
They just got Dame.
And they just got Dame. That's right.
And
Yeah.
Giannis's
They're my
extension runs the exact same amount that they have Lillard for. So for the next 3 seasons.
No, they had to trade away Drew Holiday, but I don't know if it's going to work out, but I would say it's going to be a real handful to have Dame Lillard and Giannis on the same team.
So that's Thursday night.
Yes.
I might tune in for that.
Oh, how about that?
Just to see.
And then I have to watch some Spurs games this year.
Yeah, Wemby.
I got to see Wemby.
Yes, okay.
I got to see Wemby
Look
and
at
what
you
he can
guys
do as a
getting sold
rookie.
on
I
this.
know. There's a lot of intriguing stories in this league right now.
And then I don't know that any of us are going to really be following it, but they do have the NBA in-season tournament happening in a couple of weeks. So we'll pay attention to that.
Oh,
but
I can't wait.
Yeah, and then obviously
the Celtics are going to be good. They got Porzingis in the offseason as well to beef up that lineup. So you got the drama of James Harden and whether he's going to actually even play or not for the 76ers to start the season. They don't even know if he's going to show up for the first game, which is crazy. But that's
Jeff
that's
in the
NBA
chat
drama.
says that Woodsy is in full Sean Mania mode right now, checked out with all of this NBA talk.
Yeah,
we won't talk a ton of NBA for the next few months, I'm sure.
But there are lots of intriguing stories.
Sure. I'm
in the
interested
league.
in seeing some of these
I
guys.
mostly brought it up for the contract extension yesterday. Was just
that's
$63 million.
That's 60. I mean,
it's good work if you can get it.
It makes sense though. I mean, there's no sport other than basketball. In baseball, you get up once every 3 innings, and you get a ball hit to you once, every 2 or 3 innings if you're lucky. If you're playing in the outfield, or if you're a pitcher, you pitch every 5th day. If you're a football player, you play half the time. Even a quarterback, you're not on defense. But if you're a basketball player, you're playing 44 minutes out of the 48 on both ends of the floor, and there's only 5 guys out there.
Right. I don't think there's another player, like a sport where one player can make such an impact.
Yes, you are the show.
You're
the
20%
guy
of
in
the
basketball.
team on the floor.
Yeah.
And you can just completely take over a game, both offensively and defensively.
And NBA tickets, the last time I checked, are expensive, and they're selling out those arenas, and they got giant TV deals with TNT and ESPN and ABC, and the players deserve to be making, like Giannis, $60+ million a year.
All right. Earlier, we got to some college football discussions that we missed yesterday. Woodsy went off on USC and Lincoln Riley. Another college football note that we didn't get to is the LA Bowl. Did you see what happened with the LA Bowl over the weekend? It's the LA Bowl.
It's not the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl? I thought that was the...
It was the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl. He hosted it for the first 2 years, I believe, and then it was just the LA Bowl.
Okay.
And now it is the LA Bowl hosted by Gronk. Rob Gronkowski.
He bought a bowl, or they gave him a bowl.
You don't think he actually paid for the bowl?
Calling him just the host. Gronk said, Jimmy was a fantastic host and brought a lot of elements to the game, but it's my turn now, and I'm going to turn it up. That's for sure.
I try to hate Gronk, and I just can't do it. I'm unable to really dislike.
He's just a big goofball.
I keep hoping he gets that.
I love
that
Gronkowski.
USAA membership that he keeps angling for, but he doesn't have a family member who was in the military, so he can't get in.
The fact that he and Tom Brady are just best friends makes me happy. I don't know why. Hey Tom, guess what?
I try to hate him.
They named the bowl game after me.
I can't hate him. It's like impossible. He's just a likable guy. The stories of him growing up with his brothers and how they had to build a converted garage, and I think there's 4 Gronkowski brothers if I'm not mistaken,
right.
And the parents were just like, here, go, and it was like a dorm, and the dad was like, I bought 42 gallons of milk a week, I bought 7,000 eggs a week. All they did was eat and fight and just leave their stuff everywhere. They had like their own garage, like their compound of the brothers. And as the dad of 2 boys, it makes me laugh every time. When my kids start fighting, I'm like, well, that's what the Gronkowskis did.
Well, now
they ended up fine.
I'm sad because the winner of the Mountain West goes to the Gronk Bowl.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
And San Diego State ain't winning the Mountain West.
Mountain West versus Pac-12.
Not going to the Gronk Bowl this year.
San Diego State just wants to be bowl eligible at this point.
Maybe score a point.
Yeah,
1 point is your next goal. Did you see that the soccer team outscored them on Saturday night? The soccer team scored a goal. One. That's 1 more point than the football team scored. How do you go to work the next day? We just got shut out at home in front of 19 people
by the worst defensive team in America that had lost 16 games in a row.
God. Hey, back to the drawing board, guys.
I know it's not even rock bottom. You weren't around for it. There was a season. The Aztecs were 1 win away from winning I think it was the WAC at the time, and going to the Holiday Bowl, which would have been huge. Everyone was excited.
Yeah.
All they had to do was beat 0-10 UNLV. They were favored by around 30 points. And they lost.
Oh, my God.
And they lost. Last game of the season.
You could have just been a basketball school. You
so
could have been.
As bad as Saturday's loss to Nevada was, still doesn't hold a candle to the worst loss in San Diego State football history.
All right, finally, not the typical fun or news you can use story here.
Yeah, this story sucks.
This story really sucks,
It's
and it's
terrible.
going to make you never want to fly on an airplane again.
News you can use, I guess.
I suppose, if that's how you want to spin it.
This one made me glad I'm driving on my trip this week.
Yes. Yeah.
And not flying.
Not flying Alaska Airlines. So an off-duty Alaska Airlines pilot is facing 83 counts of attempted murder. Based on the number of passengers on this plane that I still don't really know how to describe it other than tried to crash a plane. He got into the the jump seat.
Yeah, the extra seat that they have in the cockpit. If you're like
you
know,
had the
Deadhead.
pilot,
You've seen
you had the co-pilot.
Catch Me If You Can, where Leonardo DiCaprio is flying in the jump seat on the plane. Like, oh yeah, I need to hop over to catch a flight in wherever, Seattle. So I'm hopping in, and I'll catch a ride with you guys.
He's accused of trying to deploy the fire suppression system in the plane that would like kill the engines and crash the plane.
Why?
He was taken down by the whole flight crew, and like they just held him down. And he was arrested as soon as...
Mental break here, or what?
I don't know.
We are
He
not
was off
sure.
duty. It wasn't like the pilot
Well, I'm
snapped.
glad he wasn't the pilot. That would have been really bad.
But the plane left North Washington State and had to make an emergency landing in Portland, and he was arrested as soon as they touched down. But yeah, I just insane.
I mean, they have all these security measures to keep other people from getting into the cockpit nowadays, you know, with the locks and everything because of 9/11. But what happens when one of the actual pilots goes nuts?
That's your biggest fear. Yeah, everyone has bad days, but that's different level. That's terrible.
Well, I'm glad kudos to that flight crew
for taking them down.
Well, for saving everybody's lives.
That's amazing. Jeez. All right. Now
But I read that, I was like, good God, that is gnarly.
Terrible story.
Yeah. That's what you get.
Well, that was shocking, Reindl Report.
Yeah, very shocking.
All right, let's look ahead. We got Game 7 again. Back-to-back days. We get another Game 7. Look ahead to Citizens Bank Park. All the marbles in the National League tonight.
I may go full George Costanza on this and bet against what I think because I can't pick one right now. Cannot pick one.
So what do you we'll find out, I guess, next what Woodsy thinks.
Yeah.
After a check of traffic, we'll be back with more Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
Paulie made a nice little pun over the break as I was talking about SDFatloss.com. Will there be a FOT loss today for the Arizona Diamondbacks?
You're rubbing off, that's weird, on us a lot. I tweeted something over the weekend during his last start, and I'll find it. But it's like the Ben effect.
People pun shame too much. There is nothing better than clever wordplay. But I appreciated that, Paulie, because Brandon Pfaadt, who has surprised everyone this postseason. I mean, the reason the Arizona Diamondbacks could not advance in the playoffs, essentially, was they only had two starting pitchers that you'd trust in Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly.
Yeah.
And honestly, neither of them, at least until Kelly yesterday, has even been particularly dominating this postseason. But Pfaadt has been really terrific every time he's gone out, including in Game 3 of the NLCS against the Phillies.
That's when I tweeted. I said, Brandon is feeling it. P-F-E-E-L-I-N-G. And I said, I'm Ben now. He was feeling it
now,
that game.
You can make the argument both ways for Game 7 tonight. He is on a roll. He's throwing well. Why not trust what you've seen with your own eyes? He's been able to get these batters out. He got them out for 5 strong innings in Game 3. Or you can say,
look at Christian Javier last night. I mean, he's been so good.
Well, that's the thing. The Rangers all got a really good look. And while they weren't effective against Christian Javier the first time around, they were the second time. Will that be what happens with Brandon Pfaadt against a very dangerous, obviously, Phillies lineup that now has seen him very recently? We saw that a couple of times. In fact, I think the Padres, they faced Brandon Pfaadt. That first time, they got him the first inning for 3 runs and then couldn't touch him again for a little bit. They faced him. They beat him the next time around, 5 days later, 6 days later, whatever it was. I think they got 4 runs off of him and beat him. It is easier to face a guy when you've just seen him, unless they have like a Yu Darvish-like repertoire and they can do something completely different. Don't think Brandon Pfaadt is at that level where he's going to be able to completely come at the Phillies in a unorthodox way. I still like the Phillies in this game tonight. Now, Ranger Suarez has the same issue. He threw great in Game 3 with the Diamondbacks. Got a good, strong look at him as well.
Don't be surprised if he takes a page out of Merrill Kelly's book. Did you notice yesterday, Merrill Kelly was fine walking Bryce Harper, and Merrill Kelly was fine walking Trey Turner. What he didn't want to happen is letting Alec Boehm in the 4 beat him. And so
Schwarber too?
Yeah, Schwarber was Schwarber and
Tatum on the third
and
one?
Harper. And he went away. And they talked about it on the broadcast. They're like, look, in no world does a starting pitcher want to walk 2 guys in the first inning. But when those 2 guys are Schwarber and Bryce Harper, you're okay with it because then you have to have Alec Boehm beat you. Bryson Stott, I think, after him. JT Realmuto. So I think you take your chances there. So don't be surprised if Pfaadt kind of maybe pitches around those guys as well. Why not? Like, if Alec Boehm gets me, then he gets me. You know who can't beat me? Bryce Harper. I cannot let Bryce Harper get me. I cannot let Kyle Schwarber lead off the game with a home run again and get that crowd into it. So Merrill Kelly, I thought, had a brilliant game plan. They have a brilliant pitching coach in Brent Strom. Brilliant.
San Diego's own Brent Strom.
And so I think don't be surprised tonight if they're not getting juicy pitches to hit. So it's why I'm so watching that game plan last night made me look at tonight's game and go, maybe they have it figured out.
Reminded me of something I wanted to bring up. I read in the LA Times they did a big post-mortem on the Dodgers and what's been going wrong in the postseason. Why are the Dodgers so dominant in the regular season but continue to, trip themselves up in the postseason? And there are a lot of theories, and no one can put their exact finger on what it is. But one of the things that was discussed, and it has to do with this idea of seeing pitchers for a second time, the Dodgers are very good at scouting and preparing their players in the regular season for the regular everyday lineups and matchups. I think one of the quotes was, hey, when you're facing a team that has just played 9 in a row on a long road trip and, they got to go in and face the Dodgers, there's no team like the Dodgers that can exploit that and take advantage of that in the regular season. But
when you go up against the playoffs, and the Dodgers know all the tendencies of the pitchers they're going to face. But when you face the better pitchers who also know their own tendencies and can pitch against those tendencies,
correct,
they can exploit the Dodgers because they'll go up there looking for what their analytics guys have told them. All right, here's what they do. Curveball early in the count against you, and then he's going to bust you inside, and then he's going to throw you the curveball away. But when the pitchers in the playoffs know this, and they've got a little extra time and thought that goes into these playoff games, they trip the Dodgers up by going against what they normally do, and it really throws the Dodgers for a loop when all of a sudden they don't know what's coming. And it's not cheating. It's good, solid preparation, but it can be foiled in the postseason by smart opponents and smart opposing pitchers.
There's nothing worse in that game than when you think you know how they're going to pitch you. You think you know what his tendencies are, and then a pitcher is able to come out and say, I'm flushing that game plan. Watch this. And here's the hammer on 0-1. Here's this on here's a changeup away. They get you to chase. Credit to Harper and those guys for not chasing those pitches. But when you go up there and they're like, he's not going to throw me anything. It's the first inning. I can't do any damage walking to first. It's up to Alec Bohm. It's up to Bryson Stott to do the damage. Who doesn't take their chances with Bohm and Stott over Schwarber, Harper, and Turner any day of the week? I wouldn't give those dudes a thing to hit.
It's also why, though, the Padres have to have deeper options. I mean, the Rangers, yeah, you can try to pitch around Garcia. No one has really effectively, but they have a lot of guys.
A better job of that.
They have a lot of guys who can hurt you deeper in the lineup. So do the Phillies. Bowman, Stott, those guys can hurt you.
They haven't done much. And
deeper in the
Castellanos
lineup.
is dying
You
right
have
now.
Castellanos, you have Brandon Marsh.
But they can.
They can. Yeah, they absolutely can.
And you get the sense a lot of the times the Padres, they don't. They didn't this season have guys for a lot of the year. Once Gary Sanchez became an option and, it was scary enough that he was going to hit a home run and you had a couple, they started playing better. But when you can either pitch around the big four or the big whatever in a lineup, or at the very least, you can attack them with your best stuff and then not worry as much about the rest of the lineup. That's an easier path for an opposing pitcher. You can deal with 3 or 4 great players if I've got a bit of a cushion at the bottom of this lineup. But when you've got a deeper lineup like the Rangers, it makes it a lot harder to deal with the top guys in that order.
Going to be fascinating tonight watching that, watching what Brent Strom decides to do. And Fatwa had such good control last time too. Man, it's going to be such a. I don't know that it's going to be a good game. Last night was a turd, but it's a Game 7 and at home for the Phillies. One loss, and that was last night. And if you're the Diamondbacks, you're like, we have them right where we want them. Ranger Suarez is really good as well, but you've seen him. You've seen him as well if you're the Diamondbacks. Tommy Pham getting locked in yesterday from the right side, Ben, going up against a lefty today. That's huge for them.
proud of myself.
Christian Walker needs to really get it going. He's a huge part of that offense. I went ahead and bet the Diamondbacks today because the odds are good, which means the Phillies will most certainly win. So if you're a Philly fan, rejoice. You're probably going to the World Series. Yeah, you're going to the World Series. Can't pick a winner.
Because if you pick the Phillies, the Diamondbacks had a great chance to win. But you have pretty much locked in
I'm like
the
the
Phillies
Ted Cruz of sports
Rangers
betting
World
right now.
Series.
Yeah, I cannot win.
So I'm not going to hate Phillies Rangers World Series.
No, I wouldn't either.
It's going to be entertaining. All right, we've got one segment left. Why don't we invite some Tier 1s to join us for some Topic Wheel? I
love it.
We had a guest-free show today. We had a lot of talk on the manager, a lot of talk on the ALCS and NLCS. Talk some football, talk some basketball even. Let's do some Topic Wheel fun to wrap this up. If you want to join us and answer our random wheel of spinning questions, give us a call, 833-288-0973. Go through 3 or 4 questions to finish things up next with Bennett Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Got a little late entry for Don't Do This, unfortunately involving one of San Diego's own. New Orleans Saints wide receiver Chris Olave was arrested early Monday morning or late Monday night in Louisiana for reckless driving, going 70 in a 35-mile-an-hour zone.
Okay.
Dodge Charger observed traveling at a high rate of speed, recklessly maneuvering between lanes and around other drivers on the roadway. Booked into Kemper Jail Monday night, released at 11:30 p.m.
70 and a 35, I feel like I've done.
That's pretty fast.
It is pretty fast. Maybe 60.
I got my one speeding ticket ever for going 46
in a 30. Ooh, man. What was your problem? Where were you off to?
Golf practice.
Course. Yeah, of course. I knew it. You
College,
never really
college golf practice.
You always think you get there earlier. You don't.
Yeah.
You don't.
But I learned my lesson and have been a safe driver ever since.
How many times does somebody fly past you?
Catch up to them.
And you just the very next light. You're like, hey, hope it was worth it, buddy.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, I do a lot. I try to look at like the lights and be more strategic. You know,
Oh, yeah.
Like I'll push a yellow if I know, okay, if I make this light, then I make the next one.
Right.
And I can actually save 3 or 4 minutes. And I'll push a yellow late. But if it's like, well, I can make this yellow, but I'm just stopping at the next red that's like, 100 yards ahead.
Yeah, you're talking about Encinitas Boulevard.
No,
buddy.
yeah, I am talking
I know
about
exactly what you're talking
Encinitas
about. It happens to me every single day of my life. I've given up, and I just roll. I go
El
with the
Camino
flow
Real,
now.
Encinitas Boulevard,
You
up
know
there.
what? I'm in no hurry. I'm in no.
There are a couple
hurry.
signals. If I make them though, I feel like, all right, I just cut
I'm in the-
5
yeah.
minutes off my drive.
I'm in the clear. No, I know
And I'm
exactly
good.
where. I know. I can see it. I know exactly where you're talking about. I do the same thing. All right, let's spin it, Paulie.
All right, let's
Oh, we gotta
check
get somebody-
traffic,
Yeah,
and then
all
we'll
right,
come out
all
with
right,
the topic
all right.
wheel. If you want to join us, there's a couple of lines open. 833-288-0973. We're going to spin the topic wheel right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Couple of problems wrapping up our morning ride. Southbound 15 Via Rancho Parkway, an accident being moved over to the right shoulder. We do have a traffic alert eastbound 8 before Spring Street. Right lane is blocked with this collision in which a pedestrian was struck by a car. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
All right, let's go out to the phones for our topic wheel. We'll start with Nick this morning. Hey, Nick, how you doing?
What's up, boys?
How you doing? Hey, baseball Nick. What's up, pal?
Just hanging out, man.
Attaboy.
I'm ready to go.
Ready to go. All right, let's go. Topic wheel time.
Do it.
It's a long spin, it felt like.
You got a lot of
Greased
choices
up.
here.
It's very greased up.
All right, Nick, we'll start with you. What was your favorite game or activity to play when you were a kid?
Before baseball,
Yeah.
let's say I was a big movies guy.
Big movies.
Watching movies.
Yeah, that was a big part of. You're younger than Ben and I, but I watched a lot of movies. But activity.
That's
or
not
like,
a game or an activity, I don't think.
That's not a
Watching
game or
movies,
activity.
is that an activity? I'm thinking
Kickball was mine.
kickball.
Oh, I loved kickball. It was baseball, but you kicked it. And I was
So
not a good hitter, but I was a good
It
kicker.
depends on the age for me. Wiffle ball we played Ben Higgins' backyard baseball with all the kids in the neighborhood.
You had a
'cause-
name for it?
Oh, yeah, it was Ben Higgins' backyard baseball because it
Did
was
you-
in my house.
did you
And we had
do
We
commentary?
had a good level fence where if you hit it just right, you could try to jump over and catch it and come back. But we had a great yard for games like that. But when I was really young, like your kids' age.
Yeah, 5 and almost
I
3.
remember I used to love with my dad. We'd play red light, green light. We had this long hallway, and it was at the end was right where my dad would just sit to watch television
Yeah.
after work. So he didn't have to move. He just
Good bit.
he just hold his hand. And I go red light, and you had to stop and freeze. And then it was green light. You could creep closer, and the idea was like to get to him.
Everybody
somehow.
knows what red light, green light is. Everybody's playing red light, green light.
Ben's playing
See,
red
when
light,
you
green light.
start-
Ben's like, have you guys ever heard of? We used to play Simon Says, and my dad.
There was never actually anybody named Simon, but
Also, my dad came up with this great thing: hide and seek. So I would hide. He would count to
No.
10.
Hide
Yeah.
and seek's a terrible game for parents.
It's
because
awful, 'cause you have to
if
get
you're-
up.
Well, if you're hiding,
you're sitting somewhere like in a closet, just waiting to be
And your
found. It's like,
moron
come
kids
find me.
can't find you.
You're like, if you're seeking, you have to get up and search around the house, which is.
Terrible.
Red light, green light was genius though. Dad didn't have to move out of his big recliner.
Yeah.
Watch the game, whatever's on, and all he has to do is just stick his hand out. Red light, green light.
See, I've got.
We
the
were
game.
delighted.
What was
I've
yours?
got the game. It was Red Rover.
Red Rover.
Because
I forget how that works.
So
I know
you
you
get,
sent
let's say
out
you have-
Red Rover.
Let's say you've got
so
20,
come over.
20 kids at recess. You get 10 on one side lined up, 10 on the other, and pretty far apart. And you would say, Red Rover, we send Woodsy right over.
Right.
And Woodsy would have to, you're all holding hands, and Woodsy would come running towards your
try
line.
to break through
and
the
you're
line.
holding hands, and he would have to go through the arms.
Yeah. It's fun.
Go through the arms.
There's
and
always
just
like
rip
the
cord.
oversized kid though that would come and you just couldn't stop them.
Yeah, I'm pretty
in
sure
that
we
game.
got
Arm injuries.
it got banned at my
shoulder
elementary school.
separations.
But since you had to hold everyone's hand,
Oh, you
have
had
to
to-
find the cute girl.
Oh,
Yeah,
I know.
hold her hand.
Mm-hmm.
We used to play Butts Up, which is
7 Up.
No, that's 7 Up. Heads Up, 7 Up. Butts
What's
Up
that? Oh.
is like with a tennis
Oh,
ball.
yeah,
And you throw it against the wall, and you got to catch it with one hand.
And if you miss
boot it,
it,
you got to
they-
run and touch the wall.
Yeah.
And
Or
if
you'd
not,
have
you
to
stand up there
and
and
they throw peg you
and
with
they
the ball.
peg you. Wow, that's
I'm sure that is not allowed
They don't-
on any
no, they just-
playgrounds in America anymore.
They just throw the ball at you.
I mean, dodgeball is not a
It's not
friendly
allowed
game.
anymore. I
Not
don't
a
think
friendly
it's allowed
game
anymore.
I mean, the
But-
best strategy in dodgeball is to, throw it right at the feet because it's very hard to catch
Yeah.
the lower you go, or right at someone's face.
Yes. As hard as you can.
As hard as you can.
I always try to catch it, and it, boing, 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 boing. I can feel the rubber ball bounce.
Did you guys
off
in
my
elementary
chest.
school ever have the giant circus tent thing
Oh,
where you had to
God, that
throw
was
it
so
up and
dumb.
then pin it down behind
Yeah,
you,
it
and
was
everybody
awful.
sat inside?
It's awful. We had
going on?
square dancing in
Oh, I had
PE.
square
Yeah. Oh,
dancing.
yeah.
You guys did that too? I thought it was just we hillbillies down in Texas.
No,
you guys
that
had to
was
square
part of
dance?
that was part of the curriculum.
What in the world?
I actually
had
did like a
PE
whole
teacher,
performance.
Mr. Sullivan. He would play "Man, I Feel Like a Woman" by Shania Twain
Oh, my
in our
God.
gym, and we would just have to square dance with that.
Is he in
I remember
prison?
we had
Is he in prison
the
now?
square dance caller who would get the microphone out and would do si
you
do
go.
and promenade and
Oh, you just got called out in the chat. Michael says, I saw Ben on Palomar Airport Road a couple months ago running red lights on his way to golf.
I don't think that's true.
Got to be careful.
I don't think that's true. Where was I playing on Palomar Airport Road? Crossings
at
at Carlsbad? I haven't
Carlsbad.
played there in like 2 years.
Okay.
All right, let's go to Ron. You're next up on the Tier 1 topic wheel. Good morning, Ron.
Morning, fellas.
Hey, buddy.
You ready to spin it?
Let's spin it.
Do it.
All right, let's see what we got here. All right, Ron, keep tradition alive here. We'll start with the caller. What is your favorite place you have ever traveled to?
My favorite place I've ever traveled to. Wow. I would have to say Disney World in Florida.
Really?
Did you go with
Yeah.
family, kids, or did you just do it yourself?
You know what? My dad retired. He was an electrical contractor. He retired from his business, and I worked for him at the time. And he retired, and he bought a brand new car, and we drove across the country. We hit 32 states. It took us 2 months and just saw everything we could see within those 2 months. So, yeah, it was a pretty good trip, but Disney World kind of stood out.
That's awesome. I would have to say Paris. That's still my favorite city I've ever been to. Honeymoon. Never eaten like it. Never seen anything more beautiful. Every corner you turned, you went, what is that? What is that palace in gold everywhere? It's just stunning. Stunning place.
I loved I went to Florence, Italy, and the food was amazing. That was so fun. Just kind of seeing the history. It's so different from, obviously, America going to the old world. But honestly, I talked about this. We did that trip to see the Jason Isbell concert in Charleston, South Carolina. I loved everything about that town. The
place is amazing.
Just walking around, the food was great. I just loved that city. I would definitely go back in a heartbeat.
One of my best friends
That was
lives
a ton
there.
of fun.
It's incredible. Went to a wedding there. The food is ungodly good in Charleston. Ungodly. Paulie, about you?
Haven't done a whole lot of international traveling.
About to.
Planning a trip to Singapore next year, but favorite place that I've been to would probably be Nashville.
Nashville.
I've never been to Nashville.
I went there, it was 2011, so 12 years ago now, which, God, but we blew it out, man. That place was so fun. I'm sure it has changed already a ton in the last 12 years, but that city was electric.
Excellent.
So much fun.
Excellent. Who's next?
We've got, let's see, who's this? You're on Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello?
Hey, who's this?
Hey.
Yeah, you're on.
Hey, this is Zach Howell. How are you?
Zach, hey, you're up for the Tier 1 topic wheel. You ready to spin?
Yes, sir. I have a quick question for you guys.
All right, hang
that's
on.
right. Yeah,
go for it.
What do you got, buddy?
I only catch you guys in the morning when I'm in the truck with my coworker. Do I miss all of your Seals lacrosse topics?
Yeah, we talk about those on our afternoon show.
Right? No. We all,
This is the morning show.
So we only work mornings. I do the PA for the Seals. It's not season yet. We'll give it, a mention here and there in the.
I don't know if there's a collective consciousness in the region enough to be talking off-season Seals topics.
Now here's the deal. I would.
You'll get us ready for the season when we get a little closer, for sure.
Yeah. I'll be getting you ready. As far as I know, I'm coming back for another season.
But getting into the weeds of the free agent signings is
Dane Dobie's
even I'm going to
legacy.
be. I rely on Woods to explain them to me. So having a conversation about that with all of the tier ones is not like talking Padres necessarily.
As much as I would like it to be, I'd love to pack that place every night during a game. It's still growing. Still a newish team, still growing. So come out and support the Seals. The season starts December 9th.
I did see that lacrosse did make it into
the Olympics.
The 2028 Olympics, so that's big.
I bet you some of my guys will be out there, man. That excites me a lot. I love box lacrosse now. I love it. It's my second favorite sport, truly. Well, no, college football is still second, and then lacrosse third. But it's above everything else for me. I love Seals games. I can't wait for the season.
All right, did we spin, or were we in the interrupted spin, or what was our
question?
Trying
to see you.
Yeah.
Got a boy.
We did spin. Zach, do you still want to answer the tier 1 topic wheel? All right. What instrument would you play in a band?
Drums, for sure. I grew up
drums.
playing drums. I was in drum line in high school, and hands down, if you're ever angry, you get to beat things.
That's a
100%.
great point. That's a
100%.
great point.
Good call. I'm with him.
Drums.
I don't know how to play any. I know like 4 chords on a guitar. Tried to get into drum lessons when I was like 9. Just couldn't. It didn't stick. But I've always loved drums.
What would Ben play in a band? The saxophone.
I would be interested in the sax because a lot of my favorite yacht rocky music is saxophone based. But
I would kill to see you playing a saxophone with everything you've got.
Maybe at the Christmas and
show.
holiday.
If anybody has a saxophone, I need to borrow.
We're gonna need to borrow
Look
it
at
for a
him.
day.
He's already
But
the head.
in terms of the instrument that I feel makes like the most chilling, haunting music that I like, I think it'd be like a violin. I love great violin in music.
Can you imagine? You're a big fella.
I wouldn't.
Violin is very small.
Yeah, I wouldn't be. Maybe I'd have to play like a cello or something really
Now that's
big. That's the big
beautiful
old one. Yeah,
beautiful.
But one of those where you take a bow across a set of strings and you can make. I have no idea how to do it, but it always impresses me that you can make those kind of sounds with a bow and a string, and you're holding it like that. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I would sing for a band and play rhythm guitar, which I've done and I enjoy very much. Would love to get back.
Yeah,
because
you're cool. The guitar players tend to be the coolest.
I hate
guys,
playing,
right?
though.
Drum players are cool.
I hate playing
drummers
and
are cool.
Singing. I hate playing and singing. I hate it, but I've had to do it at the same time. It's really difficult, and I always forget the chords or the words, so it's really hard to remember both. But being able to shred on guitar, I want it so bad, but not bad enough to practice.
How much harder is it to do the two? I've always wondered about this.
Hard.
To do 2 at once, because
infinitely hard.
You have members of the band who just play their part.
Yep.
Not that I'm not trying to diminish anything, but if you're the bass guitarist and you're just playing that bass line all the way through, very talented, but you can focus and you're doing that one thing. When you have to play the guitar song, but also like sing at the same time, or when like Billy Joel's playing the piano, but also playing the harmonica at the same time.
Dylan, when he used to play the harmonica, sing, and play guitar, people that can do that are amazing. The hardest for me would be drumming and singing. Phil Collins did it. Don Henley did it. When they would show Don Henley, like, get out in the Hotel California, and he's playing. I'm like,
because you have to be so
God.
precise on one,
Yes.
but then you're changing up the cadence and the tune on the singing.
It would be impossible.
Yeah, your mind would have to really be able to split itself into like right brain, left brain.
Drummers
like
that
left
can-
brain, drummer.
So
Consistent.
The craziest thing I ever heard of music, and there's people that have done, but this one to me always blew my mind. The Doors never had a bass player. But Ray Manzarek figured out I can put a keyboard bass on top of my regular keyboard. I'll play the bass line with this hand, boom, 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 and I'll play all the chords down here and all the fills and the riffs, and then he'll switch and go back. And I'm like, how do you do that? Musicians are so ridiculously talented. Shout out Bobby Cressy, Dumosa Piano, one of the most talented piano players I've ever seen, and big shout out to him. Buy his records.
All right, that
does
concludes this edition of the Tier 1 Topic Wheel. We still have a loaded wheel for future endeavors of our game, but we're done. We'll have a Game 7 and a World Series matchup to talk about tomorrow. It'll be the Texas Rangers against either the Philadelphia Phillies or, in what could be one of the bigger surprises that we've seen in baseball in recent years, the Arizona Diamondbacks could be in the World Series at this time tomorrow.
Love baseball. Love it.
Woodsy's betting on the Diamondbacks, ensuring likely a Phillies victory tonight.
Correct.
All right, Coach John Quintera is coming up next. For Paul Reindl, our executive producer and imaging director, and Stephen Woods, I'm Ben Higgins. Have a great rest of your Tuesday from all of us here at Ben Woods and San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. So long.